Abdul Al-Sayed is far more electable than Haley Stevens. The evidence for that is the fact that he's going to win the primaries next Tuesday. Okay? It's really funny that random centrist Democrats in districts that Abdul will win by 60 to 70% think that their endorsement matters. Start off with the Haley Stevens closing message. Okay? One of the things that I have realized, one of the things that I have noticed, rather, and find very interesting is the fact that the establishment wing of the Democratic Party used to present themselves as like the reasonable people that understood the working class. People that didn't spend a good deal of time on the internet, people that were, doing the work, a workhorse, if you will, right? From Michigan. And what's been really interesting about this process is that it turns out when left to their own devices, when they actually have a real left flank insurgency that is taking out seats piece by piece, the only tools that they have in their tool belt is the old school, shallow identity politics, false smears of claiming that your opponent is like anti-black or anti-woman, and claiming electability to an increasingly smaller group of people at the heart of the party. And last but not least, unbelievable levels of enmity towards people that they feel have wronged them online. And it is a remarkably online candidacy for Haley Stevens. You wouldn't expect it because she's like goofy. She's got the Youper accent. She's like really building this up, right? She's hyping herself up as I'm a roll my sleeves kind of gal to do Michigan stuff, right? She's LARPing. When the only thing she has done, and especially with her closing argument, is utterly devoid of policy, and dare I say, trying to foment animus, and of course, cynical deployment of anti-Semitism smears against Abdul Al-Sayed. So we start here.
When
Abdul Al-Sayed did this interview with Amani, Muslim girl, right? And in this interview, this is one of the choice quotes from the interview. Abdul Al-Sayed says, AIPAC, come after me.
When AIPAC watches this, come for me. See what happens. Come for me. Like, I know you keep coming, but like, you picked literally the least capable candidate in America, right? And then Chuck Schumer doubles down, and then AIPAC doubles down. And part of me is like, okay, look, if you think you can beat money out of politics, money in your pocket, Medicare for all, come. But I'll tell you what people don't want. They don't want money in a foreign government. They want money here. When AIPAC watches this, come for me. See what happens.
So it's pretty clear he's targeting AIPAC, which has spent, upwards of $34 million on this race so far. Almost $40 million on this race alone, in the primaries alone. That's a pretty significant number. And it's perfectly understandable that he's even sidestepping Haley Stevens to a certain degree and just talking about AIPAC and saying that AIPAC'd up by choosing the wrong person. Now, this was very frustrating for Haley Stevens, who is slated to lose this primary, inshallah, right? And she delivered this closing message. Abdul, we were both on the ballot in 2018, which, for those of you who don't know, 2018 was basically 40 years ago. 2018, I was 3 years old back then. Get it out of your system. For all the chatters in here, we're going to be like, 2018, that was 45 years ago. Okay? Abdul, we were both on the ballot in 2018. I was capable of winning my competitive primary and general election. You lost. You lost by over 20 points to Gretchen Whitmer, and you will lose to Mike Rogers by talking like this. Everyone in America understands you want to blame all your problems on Jewish Americans. What the Where did that come from? Where did that come from? Jewish Americans, let me tell you something, okay? The notion that AIPAC is representative of Jewish Americans is perhaps one of the most anti-Semitic things you can say. Now, and I'm not even talking about it as like from the anti-Zionist perspective, right? I'm not even saying that as like the woke guy who's always talking about how Israel is fomenting anti-Semitism. I'm just straight up looking at the objective numbers of what American Jews despise. AIPAC is up there, okay? At this point, there are few things less popular than AIPAC for American Jews. You can make an argument, a separate argument about Zionism, what it means to American Jews, or Israel and what it means to American Jews to varying degrees. Some people defend it, some people don't, whatever, right? But AIPAC is seen as this far-right, MAGA billionaire-backed institution, this organization that is unbelievably undemocratic and unbelievably unpopular. So for her to just say AIPAC is actually a substitute here for all American Jews is more anti-Semitic than anything that they have claimed Abdul al-Sayed has ever said. Not anything he's actually said, because he's not anti-Semitic at all, but even their claims do not come near the demonstrated in this talking point. Okay? But of course, we expect that from the stick it to 'em, that's the Michigan way candidate. But buddy, let me be very clear. I will lower the cost of groceries, ban stock trading for elected officials, stop Trump's abuses of power, and protect Michigan manufacturing. And you'll just be a celebrity whining and writing books to get even richer. You're part of the complainer class looking for their next book or podcast deal. Bruh. She said, bro, I just want to work for Michigan. What gives? Yeah. So obviously this is her closeout. This is her final message. And her final message is like, you're complaining too much. Which, by the way, given that Abdul is, running for office in a primary, she's not just saying that about Abdul, she's saying that about all voters. Voters who want to vote for Abdul, voters who, might share the same frustrations that Abdul is channeling and communicating solutions to. So she's basically just saying, shut the up, not just to Abdul, but to anyone that is complaining. Anyone that is complaining about, Donald Trump, prices, the level of influence that Israel has on American democracy, our endless warmongering overseas. So yeah, Haley Stevens saying that is so unbelievably out of touch, but it doesn't matter, right? The media still plays the same silly song and dance. Although, if you look at this, most American Jews oppose AIPAC spending in Democratic primaries, survey finds. Most have not heard much about the role pro-Israel groups have played in this year's primaries, another survey found. So I found this to be waving the white flag. But in some respects, she was waving the white flag after dumping $60 million. Okay, dumping $60 million into this race. Is Haley Jewish? No. Contrary to what some people in the commentary sphere have claimed, and contrary to how Haley Stevens presents herself, Haley Stevens is not Jewish. She's not. She's Christian. But it doesn't end there. Here's the other parting message. And this is the part where we get really online. Are you ready for this? Haley Stevens says, they might not like how I sound, but I will make sure that Michigan is heard.
There's those cool kids on the internet making fun of how I talk. But let's be real, they're making fun of Michigan. Their jokes makes me fight harder. Just like I did when I was working for President Obama. Like I'm doing standing up to Trump.
Yeah, President Obama. When I was an intern, I sat next to President Obama.
to stop ICE. They might not like how I sound, but I am going to make damn sure they hear us in the halls of power.
Yeah. So, again, this is like an online phenomena, okay? I'm willing to bet not a single damn person in this room gives a shit about the way you sound or has heard, I don't know, barbarism critic getting a viral tweet off on how you sound. You know what I mean? Can you imagine making that your campaign? It's somehow even dumber than making your campaign around like Abdul El-Sayed hung out with Hasan Piker. He's a Twitch streamer. You guys need to know about this guy. He's real bad. What gives? Like you really got 70-year-olds in the room being like, yeah, Haley, I'm voting for you because Obama, and they're making fun of the way you sound, which sounds very normal and very real. Yeah. You never see so many black people on TV until it's voting season. That's actually a very interesting point, especially nowadays when like the anti-woke corporate attitudes really settled in and people were running the gamut on the anti-woke shit. Everyone in that room is on Medicare and they don't want you to have it. Yeah, there's also an element to it. There's also an element of that in there too. Boomer resentment. You know how it is. Boomer cons. Conservative boomers. That's how they operate. It is what it is. What are you going to do? But I'm a Michigander in Ann Arbor and you sound exactly like Haley Stevens, right? Obviously. That's what we've learned. I mean, I've been up and down this state quite a bit for Abdul in the last year and a half. I have yet to encounter one person that sounds like Haley Stevens. People from Michigan have said she's trying to do a Yooper accent. Maybe I haven't been to the Upper Peninsula. Okay. This is how you know. This is how you know I'm Michigan. Okay. This is how you know I'm a real one. I know this. Okay. But if you ask Haley Stevens, who's now nationalized this Senate campaign, the Senate primary, the only takeaway that she wants you to have from her disastrous dumpster fire of a campaign is that this is how everyone in Michigan speaks. That's devastating. Okay? That's devastating. That is ridiculous. I don't know, bro. She's really growing on me. Like a cancer. Yeah, she's trying to pull the John Kennedy nonsense, but as a Democrat. It's actually really interesting to see it happen as a Democrat. It's unexpected. You don't usually expect this from Democrats, right? Democrats go in the opposite direction where they code switch when they go to the South. They try to ham up their black scent, right? That's usually how it goes. Miss Rachel endorses most of the remaining DSA slate. Miss Rachel is our strongest warrior. Let's be real. I love her so much. Rural Michigander here who travels all over the state. I have also never heard anyone sound like her. Yeah, because she's literally exaggerating it. Bro, she went to a private school that is $60,000 a year. She's from Rochester. She literally grew up in the same town that Nick Pollum grew up in. Does Nick Pollum sound like that? That's one of the other characters of this race that I just don't appreciate. This like subtle but not so subtle way of saying like, I'm from Michigan. My opponent is not. Dog, Abdul was born like 10 miles away from you. What the fuck are you talking about? He's not real Michigan. I think we know what you're saying when you say the brown guy, whose name is Abdulrahman Mohammed El-Sayed of Egyptian descent, is not real Michigan like you are. Okay? That's been hella annoying too. So what do you mean I'm real Michigan, unlike my opponent? Unlike my opponent. He doesn't have a quirky accent. That's real Michigan. So all of this, aside from the dog whistles, right? Aside from the dog whistles, all of this is signaling one thing and one thing only. Okay? For some, that like sectarian animus could work, especially for boomer cons, right? But like that hyper focus on the way you speak, the hyper focus on how like you're being bullied online, this kind of stuff is not in any way, shape, or form designed to be appealing and designed to draw voter turnout, unless you're signaling to one constituency only, and that is people that live in DC, the consultant class that spend every waking moment on Twitter just like we do and are constantly getting into battles on there, and they're over from anonymous Twitter accounts with like, DSA roses on them, or anonymous Twitter accounts, the hammer and sickle on them, carries into like some kind of political representation in the real world, as though these factional battles between Neera Tanden and her reply guys and gals is in any way, shape, or form going to have an impact on the lives and livelihoods of Michiganders. I need people. I don't want to give advice to my opposition. But it doesn't really matter because they never listen to me. Even when I am literally yelling at them over and over again about what's going to happen next, and then it inevitably comes true. Yes, there's IRL today. Okay, yes, there is IRL today. And I'm just going to give them advice one more time. Stop hyper-focusing on Twitter battles that you have. These things are not appealing to the average people. You have to run on a policy-first platform. Hopefully this message carries over to some of the centrists that won their primary races so that they don't run stupid fucking races in the general and lose to the goddamn Republicans. Okay? Heed my warning. Anyway, there was also another Dave Weigel tweet that I think is maybe a little bit off color. El-Sayed is confident to the point of cockiness in a way you don't much see from the Dems. Stevens tried to make this an issue. I really think that losing to Trump twice made the Dems think maybe we need a laxbro who will knock their teeth out. Here's Abdul El-Sayed, the man who's likely to be the Democrats' nominee. This is Jim Garrity, National Review senior political correspondent, saying, here's Abdul El-Sayed, the man who's likely to be the Democrats' nominee for U.S. Senate in Michigan, in a podcast interview in April. J.D. Vance has brown kids who he thinks are less American than everyone else. Like, that's wild to look at your own kids and be like, you don't actually belong as much in this country that I brought you into. And honestly, like, J.D. Vance's kids, I love you. Like, Usha, like, get out, okay? You still got time. After El-Sayed said that, the host, Brian Allen, turned to the camera and said jokingly, Vance, if I know you're going to see this, do not sue me, all right? I did not know he was going to talk about you like this. I had no idea. See, even for Dave Weigel, now at the semaphore, who, roams around the country as a part of his job, this is a little bit out of touch. This is precisely what voters are looking for. A human touch. This codes as a real fighter for the voters, because real voters, just real Americans, they feel the same way when they hear about a guy who's the vice president of the United States of America, who has an Indian American wife, who has Indian American children, right? Running around, hyping up white supremacist values and claiming that his wife is probably going to go to fucking hell for not being a committed Catholic like he is. That is a very normal take. This is not an abnormal thing to say. It's uncivil to a certain degree, right? But this is exactly what most normies think. They hear this. They hear J.D. Vance and Usha, and they go, your kid's name is fucking Vivek, man. What do you mean America's getting too brown? What the fuck are you talking about? Your kid's name, one of your kids' name is Vivek, okay? Vivek. Your wife's name is Usha. You went to Yale. You are supposed to be hyping up how multicultural and diverse this goddamn country is. That's one of the best qualities of America. Our diversity is our strength. And meanwhile, Jedediah Vance over here on his 8th name change is running around being like, yeah, no, it's actually kind of bad. Maybe we got too diverse. Motherfucker, you got too diverse. You made the country diverse. It don't make no damn sense. It would be like if I ran around being like, these motherfuckers named Hasan, named Zohran, named Abdul Rahman are coming into this country telling us how we should and shouldn't live our lives. I'm sorry. Your name's not Peter. It's not Paul. It's not John. It's not George. You don't get to tell us Americans how we can and can't do things. Can you imagine if that was my commentary? Everyone would be like, dude, your name is Hasan. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, aren't you an American? The fuck do you mean? It is outright hypocritical. And guess what? People love identifying and calling out hypocrisy. People like identifying and calling out hypocrisy perhaps more than actual bad things that people do. They care more about hypocrisy than they do, or perceived hypocrisy, than bad acts. Okay? In any case, isn't that just Patrick David's whole thing? Yes, but we call it out. And it's for the average worker, it actually works a lot. It actually works against them. So yeah, CNN and Fox are going a little crazy. How do I skip this? Oh, okay. Holy shit, dude. What the hell? 534 new articles were written about me on mainstream outlets since I last visited this website. Fox News, top Wisconsin Democratic socialists confronted on past defund the police rhetoric. Far-left streamer Hasan Piker guarantees Democrat nominee will be anti-Israel. Watchdog unleashes database to expose loopholes in $5 billion foreign cash flood to U.S. nonprofits. The Hill, an American ally is adopting Beijing's playbook. Politico says Piker is driving a wedge in the Democratic Party. Piker predicts 2028 Democratic nominee won't be pro-Israel. Piker makes bold prediction about 2028 Democratic presidential nominee. Yeah, that's not a bold prediction, man. That's like me saying the 2028 Democratic nominee is going to be pro-abortion. Okay? That's only a unique take if you are still in 2026 completely and utterly out of fucking touch and out of step with the actual voters. Please go outside and talk to a single person, I beg of you. Like, you cannot have your only interaction, if you're in the media, if you're in mainstream media, okay, your only interaction with the real world cannot be a DoorDasher that you awkwardly receive your DoorDash delivery from. Okay? Girl, they already starting to move to the left. Kamala Harris. I know this is going to be controversial coming from me in particular. We need to revisit the Electoral College. We need to revisit the point of expanding the court. We need to revisit if they so want statehood for Puerto Rico and D.C. Whew. Kamala Harris is back, baby. Chameleon Harris. FYI, Haley Stevens is lying about where she grew up. I grew up in Rochester. Also, FYI, that's not an accent I've ever heard. And she graduated from Seaholm, a Birmingham high school. The only reason to lie about growing up in Rochester is because you think Rochester is poor and relatable, which is hilarious. Birmingham does make Rochester Hills look poor. Yeah, Kamala Harris, HasanAbi hit 2028. It's really funny that I said a relatively uncontroversial thing. And not just like relatively uncontroversial in our community, right? Like what I said about the 2028 Democratic nominee, I'm not going to have to worry about them being, pro-Israel. Okay? Why did I say that? Well, the reason why I said it is because I'm a normal person. I go outside. Okay? I'm in touch with regular folk. I go door knocking. I interact with my community. I visit my public parks. I have a lot of normie friends. It's ironic saying this because obviously for many, they look at me and they're like, bro, you're literally live 8 hours a day. How dare you claim to be fucking normal? Here's the thing. Every moment that I'm not live online, I'm around regular folk, regular people, my friends, people that I meet out in the real world. I talk to them. I'll give you one example. We're driving over to the hotel this morning, okay? An hour ago. We start canvassing the driver, let's be real, okay? We start talking to the driver. You know how I love, hearing about people's unique political perspectives. He's a kind of older guy, maybe in his 50s, right? And we're like, what do you think about Abdul al-Sayed? He goes, I don't know much about him, but I have a 19-year-old son, and he's a big fan, and he's been trying to convince me, but even with our conversations, no, Hasan, don't do a tale to show how normal you are, please. Wait, what? No, this is not a tale about how normal I am. What the fuck's wrong with you? This is just a conversation that I had with a person. He says, one thing that really bothered me is I've heard about him from my son. Don't know who I was going to vote for, but I think after this conversation, in the end of the conversation, he said he's voting for Abdul Al-Sayed. But before we get there, he said, my son's brought him up a little bit, right? And at first, I didn't know who he was. But then, every time I go on YouTube, every time I watch my little clips on YouTube, okay, I am getting inundated with these ridiculous attack ads. They're calling him all these different names. And the reason, what actually pissed him off, apparently, was that they kept calling him sexist. And he's like, they kept calling this guy sexist over and over again. And then the reasons as to why they're calling him sexist is because what? He like ran against a woman in the past. He's like said things about their opinions. I don't understand it. Like what's sexist about this? And because no normies use the word inundated. No, I'm saying inundated. Okay, he didn't say those words. He didn't say inundated. Shut the fuck up. He just said he sees these ads all the time. Okay, every time he's on, every time he turns on the television, there's another ad calling Abdul sexist. Every time he turns on the YouTubes and he's watching his little clips, he said he sees ads running right before it. No, not a white guy, brown guy, Indian. Anyway, he was just like, it turned me off. It turned me off from Haley Stevens. It turned me off from Haley Stevens. Because, I think the honest assessment here is that the average person may not give that much of a shit about sexism. I'll say that. Okay? This also validates the other theory, which is boomers love when young people tell them who they like and who has got them activated enough to go and fucking vote. So that's why you have a really important opportunity to talk to your parents and to get them out, canvass your parents. And the barrage of ads is backfiring because people go, all right, well, what the fuck's up with this guy? They end up looking into it. And if they have at least one person in their lives that is close enough to them, or if there's someone who's, phone banking and it's like a young person on the other side of the phone calling them up to be like, hey, I'm, very excited to talk to you about the primaries coming up. All of a sudden, all of those attack ads just feed into the name recognition. And they flip super easily. Okay, that's it. So that is part of the reason why Abdul has a lot of appeal. Meanwhile, the media is still desperately trying to present him as this like unelectable radical, and it's not. It's not working on the ground at all. It's so not working on the ground at all. But here, Semaphore wrote this article about Hillary Skolton. Abdul is going to win Hillary Skolton's district. She's a Democrat in the House of Representatives, controversial, has some allegations, some rumors that she might be having an affair with the Republican running for governor. She's been saying that she's not going to endorse Abdul Al-Sayed. She's not going to work to get Abdul Al-Sayed elected if Abdul is the candidate. Going against the vote blue no matter who narratives. Oh, shit. What is this? Motrin? Oh, hell yeah. Thank you. That's goated. And, of course, Adam Johnson, the media critic himself, says the piece is tailored around one person, ironically enough, but it makes it seem like there's a big point of difference here, big controversy here around, like many Democrats are saying they're not going to fucking support Abdul Al-Sayed. But that's not the case. Democrats are staring down the possibility that the party won't unify behind Abdul Al-Sayed, who's leading by double digits in Michigan's heated Democratic Senate primary. Adam Johnson says this piece cites exactly one person refusing to support Al-Sayed, Hillary Skolton. That's it. That's the only evidence. It also, once again, frames opposition to Al-Sayed entirely as electability concerns, not ideology or donor pressure, even though it's ideology and donor pressure. We have zero evidence Stevens is more electable. Polls are roughly even. Betting markets, to the extent that these pose any insight, are unmoved. It's just racist. It's just a racist vibe, a dogma, a convenient narrative that allows pro-Israel and capitalist ideologues to launder their ideology. Okay? Abdul Al-Sayed is far more electable than Haley Stevens. The evidence for that is the fact that he's going to win the primaries next Tuesday. Okay? It's really funny that random centrist Democrats in districts that Abdul will win by 60 to 70% think that their endorsement matters in any way, shape, or form when the polls have remained unmoved of the governor and the outbound senator endorsing fucking Haley Stevens. Hillary Scholten, what the fuck do you think your endorsement is going to do? Keep your endorsement. These guys don't understand where the base is. They don't understand where the voters are. They think they understand it, but they've given up on trying to understand it. It's very obvious. They have just sat around in their comfortable perch, in their ivory towers, and kept spamming the electability argument that corporate media consistently churns out every fucking primary, every general election, every midterm season, every presidential campaign. Oh, we got to pivot to the center because the voters demand moderate Democrats. Bullshit. There's also new polling that suggests that with black voters, El Sayed is up 5, at least in one poll. It's a bit of an outlier in comparison to the other polls that have polled black voters, but it's not shocking to me. These are the crosstabs coming from Mitchell Research, but I suspect if we look at the crosstabs, they might have oversampled, not oversampled necessarily, but oversampled in comparison to other to other pollsters, the youth vote, and that's probably the reason why Abdul gains an advantage in the black voters. But yes, if he is capable of bringing turnout in Detroit, Wayne County, if he's capable of bringing out the youth vote in Wayne County, then yeah, Abdul might even defeat Haley Stevens on this demographic as well. A lot of the 20 plus or so black polls for Haley sampled Detroit a fuck ton compared to the state at large. Haley unfortunately has a large base in Detroit. Yeah, it's older black voters. The last vanguard of the establishment Democrats. That's what it is. But that voting bloc will never not vote. And they will certainly never not vote for the Democrat. Unless there is a establishment Democrat spoiler and Jim Clyburn tries to come in and tries to rat fuck the race or something, which is not going to happen because the Senate Democratic majority hinges on this race. They're not going to do that in the same way that they tried with Andrew Cuomo against Zohran Mamdani in New York and failed, right? No one is. Once the primary's over, I suspect that most of the Democrats will consolidate behind Abdul and will be pushing for it. They won't be as enthusiastic as they would for like a James Tallarico, for example, but it doesn't really matter, right? As long as they do not present a hurdle, which some might, but those people who do this, for the record, the ones who will still try to present a hurdle will be outcasts. They will not have enough motion. That's my suspicion. This is speculation. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the Democrats will show a side, like maybe the Democrats will show cynicism to that degree, a degree that even I don't expect, where they will just, in order to try to prove their narrative that like in swing states, you can't have a socialist-friendly candidate. They'll try to rat fuck it. They'll try to destroy the chances. They'll try to launch an opposition. I don't think so. Finally, good press value. I don't know if this is going to be good press or bad press. We'll see. It's Donny, but it's at CNN, so it's probably received as much scrutiny as anything you will ever see. It's going to be me talking for a little bit, and then minutes and minutes of Josh Gottheimer calling me a monster, and James Carville being like, "Hey, I don't know what he's talking about." That type of shit. But this is one piece of that, which apparently hit election Twitter like a goddamn atom bomb. Okay, everyone is very upset. Everyone is very upset about two things that have come out from this interview so far, and Donny is pumping it. He is hyping up this goddamn He's hyping up his goddamn documentary like his life depended on it, and he loves it. Okay, he loves how he's retweeting everyone from every part of the ideological spectrum, being like, "Oh yeah, this pissed you off, huh? You should tune in on Sunday to watch the whole thing." So we'll see. I have no idea what the final product's going to look like. I expect it to have to give me somewhat of a fair shake, as fair of a shake possible from the current formation at ZNN. So we'll see. But this was one clip that everyone got really mad about.
These guys have failed so publicly and so spectacularly that it has caused people to seek out alternatives.
I see challenges from the quote, progressive left, unquote. And these people are too hard-headed to know that they're not popular. People don't like them.
Yeah, everybody likes, you know who everybody, everyone knows. If there's one figure that's popular in American politics in 2026, it's Bill Clinton. Y'all remember Bill Clinton?
They don't win elections. They never run against Republicans. They just run against other Democrats. And their only message is, we're going to blow everything up.
James Carville says this is all going to implode at the general election.
Yeah, as opposed to previous neoliberal Democratic candidacies that have been spectacular successes so far. Hillary Rodham Clinton in 2016 and Kamala Harris in 2024. There are a lot of people who are just like, this is not working. Cost of living crisis is completely out of control. Democrats haven't done anything about it. Republicans haven't done anything about it. There has to be a different alternative.
I have one simple philosophy about politics. Winning is everything, stupid. Let's think of somebody. Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders ran for president twice. You know what he did twice? He lost by a lot.
Because for progressives, getting out of the primary is a far more difficult battle than winning in the general. This is our theory. The reason for that is because Republicans don't have a vision for change. Socialists do.
So obviously this is a shortened version of my broader theory that I've talked about quite extensively here on this broadcast, which is the idea that if Democrats consolidate their turnout machine behind socialist candidates, left populist candidates, they will do tremendously well in the general election, because left populist candidates and Democratic socialists in particular have an agenda, right? They have a theory of change. They have long-term goals. They have short-term goals. Unfortunately, neoliberal Democrats, the right-wing flank of the party, the centrists, they do not. They're constantly finding themselves in a defensive posture against the Republicans. They're constantly playing by the Republicans' game. That needs to change. But we've never been able to show this theory of change because the primaries, for the longest time, were impossible to get out of, right? Now that's changing. Now the primaries are actually, in our favor because the Democrats no longer, like the Democratic voters, no longer believe that ridiculous electability argument, the pivot to moderation, the arguments that were presented with Hillary Clinton, with Kamala Harris as well, to a certain degree, with Joe Biden to a certain degree, where, everybody consolidated behind Joe Biden because they were like, oh, it's impossible. Bernie will never make it out. Ruva Roman is criticizing you on this clip. I know. So I saw that, and I think there's a misunderstanding here, okay? She says, strongly disagree with Hasan the Hun on this, and I'm once again strongly encouraging him to come visit the South. Both primaries and general elections are extremely hard, just in different ways. We cannot be complacent going into November. There is no point where I've ever said we have to be complacent. I didn't say that. I just said that my worldview is, my opinion on this is, and we will show the world this reality, we will shock the world, okay, that left flank Democrats will defeat Republicans more handily than centrist neoliberals with no vision. That's it. That's it. I didn't say the general is going to be easy. It's going to be horrible. In any case, there was another clip from this where David Hogg actually does a really good job with this. This is a comparison that you probably heard me make towards Shannon Watts, comparing AIPAC to the NRA. Democrats unironically gave up to the left for Democrats unironically gave up the party to the left for Israel. Yep, that's precisely what happened. That's precisely what happened. And we're going to keep doing that because that's just a pure expression of democracy. If our electeds refuse to represent our interests, then yeah, of course we're going to run people that do that. We're going to run people that will represent the interests of the masses. It's that simple. They're losing because they forgot that the fundamental principle of theoretical democracy is to represent the needs of the masses. Anyway, David Hawk compares AIPAC to the NRA. Great take.
Let me tell you a story. When I first started working in DC, when I went from working on the outside of politics in the advocacy world to then working on the inside, one of the first things that I was told when I got here was do not talk about AIPAC. Do not mention them. Do not think about them. Don't dare go against them. And the thing that was striking to me about that was how eerily similar that sounded to what I remember hearing about the NRA after Parkland, where people said to me, you know, they're too powerful. You guys are just a bunch of kids. You know, what happened at your high school is horrible, but you don't understand. This is the NRA. Nobody's ever going to take them on, but we did, and we won. And we made that organization go from standing for the National Rifle Association to standing for not relevant anymore.
Yeah, I think a lot of people watching this, to hear you, a Parkland survivor, talk about AIPAC in the same breath as NRA will be surprising.
It shouldn't be. Both are getting kids.
Yup. This is what I've been pointing out to Fred Gutenberg and Shannon Watts nonstop. So having David Hogg come out and say this on CNN, oof, excellent. Because it's true. They're both funded by MAGA billionaires, okay? Sometimes the same MAGA billionaires. They're both heavily invested in subverting American democracy. And they're primarily focused in melting children at schools, okay? Over there in Gaza, in Iran, in Lebanon, it's blowing up children in schools with American munitions. Here in America, it's blowing up kids in schools with AR-15s. That's it. It's the same shit. Yeah, Bill Kristol abolish ICE. It's kind of funny because Bill Kristol is obviously the editor-at-large and the co-founder of The Bulwark, and he is far more woke than Shannon, the other Sarah Longwell, far more woke than everybody else, with the exception of like maybe Tim Miller. It's so funny to me that the guy, the neocon devil himself, Bill Kristol, is far more woke than all of the other people that he hired for the former George W. Bush Democrats. Yeah, not the biggest fan of the Bulwark, and certainly not a very big fan of Kristol himself, but I'll take it. Shannon Watts reposted a tweet. What is this? Shannon Watts, a violence prevention activist and the founder of Moms Demand Action, reposted that account quoting this out of context clip to dissuade people from voting for Dr. Abdul El-Sayed. Oh yeah, this is people saying Hasan Piker is an op.
That's unconstitutional. Man, you can and suck me from the back, okay? The Constitution. I wipe my ass with the Constitution. It's a piece of paper, dude. Shut the up. The Constitution and this country, okay? You stupid bitch.
I wonder what I could have been possibly talking about when I said that. Ooh, it seems like this was very frustrating. Oh, what was that? Oh, that's right. It happened on February 14th, 2023, as Hasan was covering the MSU shooting. Hasan was advocating for mental health evaluations before allowing someone to buy a gun, when a chatter came in and said, that's unconstitutional.
The fact that we don't do the mental health evaluations before we allow everybody to have a gun is insane. You can't say mental health is a problem in this country, not the guns, and then turn around and block every bill that would ever suggest a mental health evaluation before you can use a gun. I have never understood why people think that it is crazy that we do not at least have the same level of restrictions in firearm ownership as we do for driver's licenses, okay? I will never understand that. It is such a wild thing. That's unconstitutional. Man, you can and suck me from the back.
Wow. You mean to tell me that the person who found Moms Demand Action, the person who founded Moms Demand Action is very upset at the language I'm using. Wow, oh my God. Again, civility fetishists that will turn around and say, oh my God, this is going to play really poorly in the election. Meanwhile, they're literally pointing to it to try and get it to play a role in the election. That was the Michigan State University shooting. I said what I said, okay? The Constitution is a living, breathing document. It's supposed to be interpreted. And also, if it's a setback towards progress, if it's a setback that harms children in this country, then it needs to change. Who cares? I have no reverence to a piece of paper. What are we talking about? We live in the civility purists. The civility fetishists are completely out of step regardless. So this is doubly out of step and unbelievably hypocritical. Because Shannon Watts, for those of you who don't know, because you probably only know her, you probably only know Shannon Watts as the person who's like weirdly very pro-Israel for some fucking strange reason. But Shannon Watts came on the scene as an anti-gun violence advocate. And here she is clipping something to weaponize against myself and Abdul, when the thing that she's clipping in the broader conversation is something that she should wholeheartedly agree with.
And I don't draw a line between whether it's kids in Parkland, kids on any street in America, in any community, or if it's kids in Palestine. It's not okay.
When you first got here to DC and you were told, whatever you do, don't talk about AIPAC. Don't come after AIPAC. Big Pharma puts a lot of money into this town, big oil, whatever. Why do you think it was AIPAC you were told to stay quiet about more so than anything else?
There are a few groups that had the winning streak that AIPAC had. That's the reality. What people fear more than anything are people that they perceive to be strong winners that can be decisive in elections.
Yeah, and we've been destroying that narrative, okay? We have been destroying that narrative, and I'm unbelievably proud of this community for playing a formative role in absolutely brick by brick breaking that AIPAC barrier that politicians were so terrified of, which kept them quiet on these issues, on these human rights atrocities that we are complicit in. Okay? I mean, think about it. This race in Michigan is a statewide race. They claim Michigan is a swing state. It's not. It's not a swing state. Michigan is only a swing state because Democrats have been complicit. Okay? Not just about Israel, but a litany of different issues as well. Democrats have placed corporate interests ahead of the interests of the population for far too long. That's why this state is a swing state. Okay? But even then, in this pivotal race, in the primaries, AIPAC has dumped close to $40 million into the race. On a record-breaking amount of money. And it still hasn't made a dent for Haley Stevens. Okay? That's it.
AIPAC did not make anyone available for an interview. In a statement, AIPAC called Hogg's comments despicable and disgusting. AIPAC said it is proud to support, quote, principled Democrats who share our commitment to a partnership that is integral to America's national security. It also pointed out that many Democrats it supports are winning their primaries.
Yeah, okay. Perhaps it's because they haven't run against our guys. Shannon Watts openly admits to being Israel first in this tweet. Oh, yeah, this is the second tweet that went viral from the clip from the upcoming CNN documentary that Donnie is shamelessly promoting. Shamelessly. I mean, I cannot believe this man basically slit me up and down and lowered me into the ocean with a bunch of sharks like I'm goddamn chum, okay? Love Donnie, but let's be real. He is dangling this thing in front of all of the variants, the Republicans, the liberals, and the establishment that despise me. He's using me up. He's using every part of my body, okay? He is slutting me out. Let's take a look at this one.
Will you endorse the 2028 candidate if they are pro-Israel in a way that you don't like. If you ultimately are about defeating fascism in this country as you describe it, surely shouldn't you get on board with whoever the main candidate is?
Luckily, I don't think I will have to make that calculation at all, because there is 0% chance that whoever the elected Democrat is that wins the primary will be pro-Israel in any way, shape, or form. You'll see.
Will you endorse the...
Whoo! This is as normal of a take. If you live in the real world, okay, if you exist in the confines of the real world, if you have had a conversation in the last year or so with a regular person that doesn't work for Raytheon as a lobbyist, that doesn't work in the Hill, this is the most normal take of all time, okay? Especially if someone is leaning Democratic or has voted for the Democratic Party in like the last 10 years, okay? This is a take as normal and not bold at all, okay? This is a take as normal. This is a take as normal as saying there's 0% chance that makes it out of the primary is going to be anti-abortion. If I said that, no one would disagree. So why do people disagree with this very normal take? It's because they are still unbelievably out of step with the voters. That's it. Anyone that is shocked by this very normal, anyone that is shocked by this very normal take, especially even after the sequence of primary victories in 2026 so far as we are heading into the general, anyone that's still shocked by this take is just not paying attention. Like, they're not doing their jobs. It blows my mind. Like, isn't your job to just like read the polls? What are you doing? Sure, you don't care to I don't know, pop open the window and see if it's raining outside or not. Maybe you're oblivious to what's going on in the world, but like a part of your job is to at least read the polls, right? A part of your job is, if you're in DC, a part of your job is to understand what people are saying, what people are thinking, or at least like who's winning races and what kind of plank they're winning those races on. You have to be the most oblivious person on the planet to think that what I just said there was bold. But again, every time they want to have this conversation, it benefits us. Because every time they want to have this conversation and go, that's a ridiculously anti-Semitic thing to say, I can't believe he's saying that, they show how out of step they are. They show how out of touch they are with the masses, and they show how out of step they are with the base, with the actual base of the Democratic Party. While that there's a group called Democratic Majority for Israel, when there is no group in the Democratic coalition that agrees with the establishment position on unlimited, unconditional aid to Israel in perpetuity, even most Jewish voters disagree. This is via the National Jewish Survey. Which of the following comes closest to what you think the U.S. policy on financial aid and military assistance to Israel should be? The U.S. should provide unconditional and financial military assistance to Israel, 31%. Okay, which is obviously very high. This is, the National Jewish Survey. The U.S. should only provide financial and military assistance to Israel if they comply with U.S. law is at 44%. It's the plurality. The U.S. should stop providing financial and military assistance to Israel is at 26%. It's over, because the current attitude in D.C. is unconditional aid. Shut up. How dare you even question this? What are you, an anti-Semite? What are you, out of your mind? Meanwhile, this is American Jews by plurality saying, at least make them, follow the law, or saying, no, embargo. 26% of American Jews say no, embargo. Yeah, Scott Jennings, he speaks the truth. The number one plank of the Democratic Party platform is and will be anti-Semitism above everything else. It's anti-Semitic to oppose sending aid and arms to a country that's doing genocide and maintaining tide while falsely claiming it's doing it for all Jews? What a strange thing to say. Can you tell him to suck my dick in that tweet as well? At Plaslyko? No, I'm not going to do that. Sorry, Plaslyko. Would you ever do that panel show Jennings is on, or do they only let you on CNN in super edited pre-produced segments? Yes, they will never have me on MSNBC. They will never have me on CNN. Let's be real. It's not happening anytime soon. I mean, that might change. Who knows where we'll be by 2028, but But for the time being, well, CNN in 2028 is going to be under the control of Ellison, so they'll definitely never have me on. But you are the breaking news story every day on Hannity now? What the? Sean Hannity has made Hasan the breaking news story on Fox News every single day this past week. He no longer needs to explain who Hasan is because everyone in his boomer audience already knows him now.
The U.S. Senate, we have a full report. John Fetterman has a message from Michigan's radical socialist-backed Senate candidate who likes to campaign with Hasan Piker, and more straight ahead.
I cannot believe this puffy-faced loser said he wanted me to go on his podcast. I literally said I would fly out to Florida for him to do his goddamn podcast, and he backed away. I mean, every fucking day, I'm so mad. He had a goddamn war criminal on his fucking podcast that he paywalled the interview portion of before he had my ass on. Talking about me every day, never talking to me. Holy shit. But yeah, this is expected. This is expected, right? This is expected. We know that Fox News is going to be doing this. Obviously, it's their midterm strategy. It's very stupid. It's not going to work, but it doesn't matter. It's really funny that they're like trying to get people to be agitated enough about who I am so that like the mere mention of my name will at least like invoke some kind of fear, some kind of fury. And then they'll be like, this guy is hanging out with the Democrats. And then the boomers will be like, oh, we got to go out and vote. They're fucking stupid, right? But what's frustrating, what's been endlessly frustrating, is seeing that exact same attitude from Democrats. Obviously, Shannon Watts right here is demonstrating that. Says with the Israel take that I had, which is a perfectly normal take. If you're a Democrat, you should know this by now. Either idiocy or sabotage to be giving these kinds of interviews going into the primary election. There's 0% chance any 2028 Democrat nominee will be pro-Israel in any way, shape, or form. So stupid. Shannon, if you've been around normal folk in the last year that have voted for a Democrat in the last decade, you'd know this take is as uncontroversial as claiming the 28 Dem nominee won't be anti-abortion. Hey, yo, Hasan, want to jump into a quick game of Fortnite? Nah, dog, I'm sorry. I can't play Fort right now. Thank you. Dem nominee will be pro-choice. That's a better way to frame that. Shannon, if you've been around normal folk in the last year that have voted for a Democratic candidate, voted for a Democrat in the last decade, you'd know this take is as uncontroversial as claiming the 2028 Dem nominee will be pro-choice. New Michigan poll dropped. Latest Zenith research poll on behalf of Abdul al-Sayed's Fighting for Michigan PAC finds al-Sayed leads Haley Stevens by 19 points. This was conducted between July 26th to July 30th. Fox News is running the shit out of that 0% chance quote, by the way. Far-left streamer Hasan Piker guarantees Democratic nominee. You know what's really funny about this, by the way? This is great. This is great for us. Not just for us on the insurgent left, but this is great for the broader anti-MAGA, anti-Trump movement, okay? That extends far beyond the left flank insurgencies, that extends into the Democratic base of support broadly, and even independents, and maybe even some Republicans who are increasingly more frustrated, okay? Increasingly more frustrated with the unconditional loyalty demonstrated by Trump and his allies to Israel. Why? This, once again, positions them as the unconditional loyalty to Israel party. That is so good. This is so good that, like, I sometimes feel like the Democrats don't deserve this level of promotion, okay? What have they done to receive this level of promotion? Yeah. We must internalize that identity politics extremists polarize themselves into actual racism, not because of hypocrisy, but because that's the end result of liberal identity politics, an ideology that privileges racial sectarianism and owning the left will find the red pill. Yeah, there seems to be a play to double down on racism against Abdul al-Sayed by pro-Haley Stevens posters who keep popping up in my feed. Yeah, we covered this before, right? It was the school board lady. For years, these guys talked nonstop about how dirtbag leftists were going to become fascists, Oops, it was the other way around. We're in 2026 and liberal identity politics is a cornerstone of the Palestinian genocide, transgenocide, crackdowns on leftist speech, and the woke right. I just want Larkin to win in a huge upset in Florida. Establishment Dems will commit seppuku on live on CNN. Yeah, we're going to work on that. Don't worry. Hello, Hasan. Glad you're in Michigan. Abdul's going to win by 5 to 10 points, I suspect. Have heard that from folks close to the campaign. I think it's great you were trying to mobilize your fans and followers for on-the-ground political action, says H. Bizzle. Lib Bizzle is back. AFL-CIA's very own Lib Bizzle is back in the building. Now that elections are coming up, of course, our UAW champion, Lib Bizzle is the only person, as I've jokingly referred to over and over again over the years, for those of you who know, who've been a part of this community, Lib Bizzle is the only person who can actually show pay stubs from the DNC. And we've duked it out over and over again, all up and down the timeline. And, he's on our side. But you know who else is on our side? Perhaps the most unlikely ally. You might recognize him as a prominent fixture of K-Hive. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Too Raw, Too Real has thrown his hat in the ring and has endorsed Abdul Al-Sayed. It's over. There is no clearer definitional proof that it's fucking over. And Sam Robinson, who's awesome, the Michigan roving reporter, the Detroit's very own Sam Robinson, also points this out, says this is a bigger surprise than any endorsement I've seen in this race so far. He's right. This is the most confusing endorsement so far. This would be the equivalent of Josh Gottheimer endorsing Abdul Al-Sayed. Okay? This means that they went to him and they showed him a big purse and he was like, no, I see the writing on the wall. I actually have better instincts than fucking Gretchen Whitmer. Okay?
My own black ass out to the carpet because my silence has been a little louder than my advocacy. I've been a supporter for Abdul El-Sayed for a long ass minute for Senate. In fact, one of the first creators to interview him, I'm a collaborator on that fucking video. Meaning, it's got my stamp of approval, ho. Well, why, Kenny? You know that Pecker with Piker likes him. What the fuck that got to do with me? That's his issue. I'm focused on the...
That, brilliant. I love that. Thank you. I like that he still had to do a subtle... snide remark being like, oh, well, Hasan Pecker likes him, which is bad, but I don't care because I care about the issues. Great. That is exactly what I expect from Democrats, even the worst grifters out there. Okay. Like, that's what I expect from Shannon Watts. When Shannon Watts was like, no, it's a bridge too far for me, that he's like, cooperating and collaborating with Hasan Piker. That's the reason why I can't find myself voting for this person. I'm like, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit who any candidate fucking collabs with, dude. Can you imagine? I'm like, oh, you went on MS Now. I can no longer endorse you. Sincerely. The fuck? No, I want my candidates to fucking go everywhere. I want my candidates to build an actual big tent. That's how you win elections, man. Yeah, I saw centrist liberals now indistinguishable from... Oh, this was really funny as well. Hold on. Let's finish this beautiful, beautiful moment from Too Raw, Too Real. Welcome to the insurgent left, Too Raw, Too Real. I think McKinney is going to win as well as Lawrence. Friend working in support of Lawrence told me before the Global Strategy Group poll on MI7 came out, similar results. Thought margin will be bigger. The fact Syed is winning big in MI7. Slotkin's old party. Yup. It turns out, MI7, they are going to say, for MI7, that's a big one, right? That's a big one. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Let me finish this first because I want to keep gloating. But after that, we will get to MI7. We'll get to Donovan's race too. Obviously, there's a lot of exciting things to unpack from the projections so far.
Issues. Like, this is not no click shit. This is politics. And yes. I'm not going to play politics with people's lives. Well, Kenny, I thought you didn't like progressives. Well, I don't like prejudiced progressives. I don't like milquetoast moderates. I don't like racist ass Republicans. It's all anything that stems in anti-blackness. Bitch, I don't like it. I'm politically homeless.
King, you're on camera. No, it's fine. You can just go. No, it's fine. It's fine. You can just plug it. You don't have to crawl on the ground. That's so funny. He's like trying to marine crawl, so he's like off the camera. I was like, it's not gonna work. Well, here, there's hold on. I got you. Let's.
Just so happened to be a black person who's registered as a Democrat. Y'all the lily whites who like to live by motherfucking labels, not me. Abdul is a motherfucking real one. He ain't like these other motherfucking progressives. He's not a class reductionist. He believes that you cannot deal with class unless you deal with race. He continuously shows up in black spaces. He doesn't diminish our experiences or chop it up as identity politics. In fact, he even teamed up and collaborated with one of the most productive women in Congress, Lauren Underwood. Well, Kenny, wasn't he a part of the uncommitted movement? Yes, he was. But he wasn't like the motherfucking crackheads that turned from uncommitted to abandoned Harris. They originally had good intentions, but just like every motherfucking movement, there are some people who decide to derail the fucking movement and do some other shit. Let's roll this shit back real quick. Originally, the uncommitted movement was to apply pressure to the president to call for a ceasefire and to end the devastation that was happening in Palestine. When Joe Biden dropped out and said he wasn't seeking re-election, it wasn't even a day later that Abdul was calling on Kamala Harris to be the Democratic nominee. He endorsed her immediately, even before any delegates even voted for her to be the presumptive nominee. Like I said, he ain't crazy, and his ass ain't DSA neither.
I know that capitalism works. I just know that it does not work when you have monopolies or oligopolies.
This is so good. This is so goddamn good. I mean, I love it. Like he is obviously one of the this has been like an ongoing one-sided beef. He fucking hates my ass, right? He hates everything I represent. He constantly will cynically claim that I'm like racist, I'm anti-black, whatever. Okay? But he is demonstrating a level of sensibility here that I haven't seen from so many other Twitter brain broken pundits, dude. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Also, there's a Chan internal that shows her 5 points away from Scott Wiener. This is not great. I've already said I would support her if she wants it. It's coming close, Connie. And I'm saying that as someone, again, here's a great example of this. Okay, Connie Chen, not my favorite pick in the primary. As you guys know, I tried to lend support to Shoykot. He lost. But what did I say? After the primary's over, we can't let Scott Wiener occupy that seat. He will occupy it as one of the most viciously pro-Israel candidates who's currently lying, okay? Who's currently lying about not being pro-Israel. Connie Chen called me an anti-Asian racist in the primaries. She called me an anti-Asian racist because, if you guys recall, I was complaining about the tokenization of like Asian people that were hired specifically to be the face of the anti-DEI movement during the Supreme Court case against affirmative action. And I was ripping into these like tokenized, self-tokenized Asians that wanted to be the face of this movement, this white supremacist movement. And they clipped it. And they were like, oh, he's fucking anti-Asian. He's an unbelievable racist against Asians. The reason why they were doing that, of course, the reason why the right-wing forces in the primaries were doing that was because they didn't want Shoykot in a very heavily Asian-populated district like San Francisco to actually make it into the primaries. It's funny that they said this, by the way, because San Francisco is one of those districts where there is a very large chunk of Chinese Americans, and many of them actually don't have negative opinions about China, contrary to what people would believe. And Shoykot himself was Asian, obviously is Asian, and that didn't really matter. But what was interesting about that is, like, I have been known by, I've been presented in mainstream media usually as a guy who's like too pro-Asian countries. So it was really funny that they threw me for a loop where they were like, he's actually anti-Asian. He's an anti-Asian racist. To show you how cynical this kind of stuff is, the deployment of like the weaponization of like cynical, hollow identity politics. A great example of this is like people who on the one hand will say, this guy Hasan loves China. He loves China. He loves China. And then to be like, oh, he's like an anti-Chinese, anti-Asian racist. Ridiculous. I mean, aren't you also technically Asian? Yeah, but not the kind of Asian that Americans and the San Francisco voters think of when they think of Asian. Yeah. I mean, think about the last Think about the last week's coverage, the last week's fake controversy. I wore a Zhongshan suit, a Chinese suit, a suit that looks like a Nehru suit, like a suit that is very, very common, very popular in the Asian continent, all up and down the continent. And these motherfuckers were running around being like, that's Mao. He's Maoist. He's a Maoist. He wants the Cultural Revolution to take place in America. Look at the suit he's wearing. A suit that I personally love that you know, a Chinese tailor made for me. A bespoke suit that they were trying to bully me over, which, by the way, again, backfired. Obama tan suit moment. Many of the Democrats, many of the normies on Facebook were like, oh, really? This is what we're worried about? Cost of living crisis is exploding, and this is what Fox News wants to fucking complain about? Some Twitch streamer wearing a suit? What are you, fucking nuts?
The reason why I support him is because I want to show and set a precedent.
Anyway, my point is, in spite of all of that, I would still lend support to Connie Chan because she is a far better pick than Scott Wiener. It's not even a question because I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit about people playing politics. Even when they call me to win their primary, even when they call me cynically an anti-Asian racist, I'm like, I'll let bygones be bygones. I don't give a shit.
For progressives to know that you can win without the anti-blackness. You can win without the prejudice. You can win without being a class reductionist. You can win without always having to feed into white grievance. You can win without diminishing black experiences. You can win with being inclusive. You could win without...
You know what's really funny about this take? It's identical to my take as well, for not just black people either, but for all marginalized identity groups that Democrats constantly try to fucking throw to the wayside in order to win elections, to moderate to the center. About it is like that's my point of view as well, but he will never recognize that because he thinks that I've like he has made up his fucking mind that I'm like an anti-black racist.
Trying to defang black people from the Democratic Party.
And then immediately turns around and fucking hits Will Lawrence. Michigan 7. We'll talk about that too.
Defang black people from the Democratic Party. The reason why I support Abdul is because we agree on so many issues, particularly when it comes to policy. Medicare for all. I agree with that shit, but because he understands the issue of class and race, he understands that even passing Medicare for all will not deal with the root causes on why black women are more likely to die than their white counterparts. Because of his connections and collaborations with black women like Lauren Underwood, the woman who actually wrote the Mommunist bill. Because he's not a class reductionist, because he understands that...
Class reductionist. Surely this guy's pro Cori Bush, right? Yeah, see, I don't know where he's at on stuff like that, okay? But this is a pivot. He's a cynical grifter. I don't really care. I welcome it, okay? I welcome it with open arms. I mean, arms distance regardless, but open arms nonetheless. Great. Facebook boomers agree with you? Yeah. Far left streamer declares there is a 0% chance that the 2028 Democratic nominee will be pro-Israel. Parker made the prediction during a CNN interview with Pressed On whether he'd back a pro-Israel Democrat focusing on defeating fascism. The streamer also recently drew scrutiny for framing a 9/11 newspaper front page behind a streaming desk. Years after saying America deserved 9/11 in a 2019 clip, he later apologized. Far left is hilarious. Fantastic. Now if Republicans can do the same, we'll start making America great again. Political debates. This is Fox News boomers, bro, on Facebook. These are boomers on Facebook responding to the Fox News article. It's Jover, dude. It is so fucking over. It's not even close how over it is. Political debates continue to evolve as different voices shape conversation about foreign policy, elections, and future of the parties. Dialogue and accountability remain important to a democracy. If that's true, I vote Democrat for the first time ever, says Alex Martinez. Why are you booing him? He's right. When Zohran Mamdani was asked what country he would like to visit, he won the election. When everyone said Israel, he didn't. He won. He's our mayor and not a foreign country. From his mouth to Jesus' ears, amen. There's a chance they might be anti-America as well. I think we need someone who's pro-United States. Criticism of the Israeli government's actions, blah, blah, blah. If he's far left, that's funny. That'd be great. America first. He's correct on all accounts. Oh no, not nuanced thought. This man's hate for Israel and the Jewish people is disturbing. What's more disturbing is the people who listen to him. He only has hate in his heart. 26 people laughing at that comment. That's what's really funny about this. Donald Trump tapped into populist rage very effectively, but because he's a comment, he didn't actually follow through on it. Like the isolationist perspective. No more wars. He's the peace ticket. This is the pro-peace ticket. America first. Let's rebuild our industrial base. These are not controversial ideas. These are universally positive ideas that the American voters are demanding. They're begging. Trump happened to capitalize on the Democratic Party's inability to address these demands. That's it. That's it. And now that he hasn't followed through on it and exposed himself as a fucking charlatan, can you imagine a world if the Democrats got their fucking shit together and said, look, he's not doing it. We actually will. That is the promise of the insurgent left. Hopefully he's right. Why do they always have that look about them? Sounds good. Well, yeah, they can't run far enough or fast enough to the left on any policy. If they want any chance, they'll need the most extreme Democratic socialists they can find on TikTok. I love all the photos of the boy millionaire socialist, 2K Cartier glasses. We can only hope. He's right, America first. Hakikat bombası. He's truth nuke in Turkish. You can't really be focused on defeating fascism and pro-Israel at the same time. And that's why they will win easily in 2028 and 2032. Trump has been the best president Democrats ever had. He will hand him all three houses for years, maybe decades. No lies detected. America First is now considered far left. Oh, it's so good. It's so fucking good. Yeah, Dana Bash had Fran Hong on to hit her with a litany of gotchas, but it's fucking great for us. Once again, any moment that Francesca is on mainstream news is excellent. Okay? Excellent.
Racism is the root causes on why all these things are happening. So if I didn't say it before, let me say it full throated.
Okay, great. Too raw, too real. Welcome to the fucking left insurgency. All right. So we'll do the Francesca Hong thing in a second. What was I going to show you? Wow, in the 18 toss-up House districts, 92% of black voters and 75% of Hispanic voters were less likely to back a candidate who strongly supports Israel and continue U.S. military aid. 61% of moderates were less likely to support a pro-Israel candidate. Holy fuck, this is the truth Samson option, okay? This is the truth nuke of all nukes. What are we doing? God, the Democrats are so fucking incompetent. It's awesome. I'll be honest with you, if they were smarter about this shit, if they tried to play their cards a little bit better, if they weren't such corporate stooges, they literally would have recognized the moment and would have at least tried to present themselves as being like critical of Israel, but in the appropriate way. But they didn't, because they're such corporate stooges. They're such goddamn corporate stooges that they could not get themselves to say the necessary things to even lie to the base. And here we are. Their inability to play the game has caused them. What is this? Shannon, you've been around normal folk. You couldn't organize your way out of a Halloween maze? I mean, who cares? Fine. Organizing for Shannon literally means getting paid 20 grand a pop to go speak at events, oftentimes fundraised by pro-Israel donors. Okay, that's what organizing means to her. If I'm so bad at organizing, then why the fuck are my candidates who are getting outgunned and out fundraised by outside expenditures beating the shit out of your candidates all up and down? Yeah, I know. Bernie Moreno is gay, by the way. Yes, I'm surprised that people are shocked by this. I've covered it before. And that's part of the reason why he has been awfully quiet about Max Miller, who brutalized his daughter. We've briefly touched on this. I've covered it a couple times, but we'll do it. Centrist liberals are now sounding indistinguishable from MAGA in the way they're panicking over Hasan and the DSA. Let's take a look.
A small faction drive more people toward Donald Trump.
There is a small group of far-left extremists gaining influence.
Democratic socialists who now have a chokehold all over the Democratic Party.
The reality is very, very scary. At this point, a majority of the governing board is controlled by people who are explicitly communist.
They attach themselves to popular causes. They take real concerns about healthcare, housing, police misconduct, and use them to sell what is actually an authoritarian worldview.
They want to toss out our Constitution, eliminate all checks and balances. They want to concentrate power, control entirely the means of production.
Or you move in this incredibly authoritarian way, right, where you get secret police, people being rounded up and brutalized. And I'm afraid that that's what we're seeing in DSA right now.
These are people who even 10 or 15 years ago would have been relegated to the outer extreme fringes of the Democrat Party.
Over a 10-year period, we saw the organization just become more and more extreme.
10 years ago, when I would interview DSA people, socialists, etc., they would say to me very soberly, they would go, listen, David, I'm a socialist, you're not, but our next stops on this bus are the same.
Yeah, we still say that. It's just the problem is you don't want to be on the bus no more. That's the issue. That's the issue. The issue is the bus unfortunately has been moving in the opposite direction because it's been, the driver is Donald Trump. Yeah. Okay. Good take from David, I guess. He is refusing to reckon with the reality. Part of it is because of his own opinions about foreign policy. Let's be real, okay? It sucks to say, but his perspective on his perspective being out of step with the voters on American foreign policy as it pertains to Israel, maybe not just even Israel, but like American militarism, for example, has forced him to reconsider his other positions as well. Now he's like, maybe the DSA is too radical. I don't know. I want Medicare for all. I want social democracy. I'm a social democrat. But then he fucking complains about the people who are advancing social democracy in this goddamn country.
Extreme left. I mean, really extreme left. You see it on the position with Israel.
What's been called the Red-Green Alliance, which is definitely a short-term arrangement between Islamic fascism.
Dog, I'm going to annoy the fuck out of you until you talk about DIOP Harris. I know you see this. I don't see it. And I hate when people say, I know you see this. Diop Harris?
And socialism.
This Islamo Communist Alliance. I mean, the left should have no rightful association with the Islamic fucking Guard of Iran.
I regularly get emails and see comments from people saying, you're with us or against us.
In order for us to be progressives, we now have to believe ideas and support ideas that are completely nuts.
These are people
dressing as Mao.
Piker, in those Mao pajamas.
Hasan Piker was dressed like Mao.
Okay, the Humanist Report. Great edit from the Humanist Report. Respect. Anyway, but here is the left insurgency. Do we have this on the? Let's see. I don't know if it's like one of the videos that's on the docket here, but this was the Abby Phillips.
Most polarizing voices are speaking out about each candidates will face in 2028. Moment or a movement. A new CNN special takes viewers across the country to explore the battle over the Democratic Party's future and its ongoing debate over socialist politics. Our own.
Okay. First of all, someone asked, are we going to watch on Sunday the Sunday special? What do you think? Chatters. We will be fucking seated. Okay? No matter where I am, my ass will be parked. Popcorn in hand. We will be seated. And then when Monday rolls around, the take machine is going to go nutty mode. They already are positioning this documentary as though I'm like this insane person saying insane things. You haven't even seen my commentary because this will be the quintuple down on Palestinians' right to resistance. Just so you guys understand, obviously, there were a lot of questions that Donnie asked me. Not to tease it too much, but Donnie basically printed out the fucking Josh Gottheimer, Mike Lawler congressional, the demanded deplatform bill, right? Bill's not going anywhere, but it's doing its purpose. It's doing its job. Yes, I will be seated like that. This is how I'll be waiting. I don't know why it looks so goddamn Turkish in this. But I doubt all of it makes it. No. I'm certain that they will want anything and everything I've ever said about Hamas, anything or everything that I've said about the Palestinian resistance, international law, an international right afforded to the Palestinians to militarily resist against the Israeli apartheid, the Israeli occupation. It will be definitely featured on it because it's one of those statements that's like objectively true, but it's analysis that no one ever hears in mainstream outlets. And therefore, it's yet another instance where they will present that and they'll say, this is a ridiculous position. And every time they put that on television, every time they put that, like, he said Hamas is 1,000 times better than Israel. How dare he say such a fucking crazy thing? Like, every time they play that position, more and more people go, actually, I don't think that's wrong. Okay? That's it. And they don't realize it. Which Sunday special? I honestly don't know what you're referring to, says Manyak Masin. There's a Sunday documentary coming out on CNN that Donnie made about the insurgent left movement. Part of it features my commentary, what I've been doing up and down the countryside. Anyway, and of course, CNN is teasing the special over and over again. This is the whole story. The left insurgency airs Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time.
Donny O'Sullivan sat down with one of the left's most controversial figures and who offered a bold prediction about 2028.
How am I controversial?
Will you endorse?
Controversial for who? Controversial for who?
The 2028 candidate, if they are pro-Israel in a way that you don't like, if you ultimately are about defeating fascism in this country as you describe it, surely shouldn't you get on board with whoever the main candidate is?
Luckily, I don't think I'm going to have to make that calculation at all, because there is 0% chance that whoever the elected Democrat is that wins the primary will be pro-Israel in any way, shape, or form. You'll see.
Donny joins us here at the table now. So, Donny, in your reporting, what do you think is the balance between the sort of economic populism that's motivating some of the candidates, and it's very real that Hasan Piker is talking about?
Yeah, it's huge, and they view this as going hand in hand. I mean, the reason I asked Hasan Piker that question, and I'm guessing most people watching this program now know who Hasan Piker is, but for those who do not, he has become the sort of lightning rod within the Democratic Party, within the debate for what direction the Democratic Party should go. The reason I asked him that question was because we bumped into him, we interviewed him at the 2024 DNC. He had been invited as part of the DNC as they tried to broaden their tent and bring creators in. He was there streaming live, and he was not supporting Harris. He did not endorse her. He didn't tell his viewers to vote for her. And I think, this is the real crux of this problem, this issue here, is that...
They call themselves was it the uncommitted?
The uncommitted movement, yeah. But I think, you could see where this is going in terms of as we get into the 2028 primary, probably beginning on New Year's Eve, right, this year, is that will the party come together at the very end? It looks like they are...
Yeah, to be fair, I was excited about the changes that were taking place in the party until I saw her speech. The last day at the DNC was the day where I was like, oh, fuck, it's over.
Pulls apart right now, and you can see people are entrenched.
There's no way they come together. I mean, you've got a large group of this party that is not just accepting the fact that you have to be anti-Israel, but they decided to justify a dude with a Nazi tattoo. I mean, there's a rise of anti-Semitism on the left. It is, as a Jew, it's absolutely terrifying to me to see that. As a Republican, I say at least...
Really? As a Jewish Republican, it wasn't terrifying to you that the wealthiest person on the fucking planet who had dumped $250 million into Trump's election, Sig Heiled twice at the fucking inauguration? Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck... These guys are such phonies, man. They are such liars.
It's guaranteeing at the national level, the White House, probably going to be a lot easier for the Republicans if we're truly going to go up against either someone who is an anti-Semite or choosing to reject that and then upsetting the base that's not going to go turn out.
I know I sound like a broken record when I say this, but we have to acknowledge that this movement away from Israel is not solely a Democratic phenomenon. It is happening on the right and on the left. But on the Democrats, our CNN poll finds that 69%, if you add enthusiastic and okay, of Democrats say that they are okay or enthusiastic about somebody being nominated who supports cutting U.S. aid to Israel. Again, I think it would be a political mistake for Republicans to believe that this is a solely Democratic issue.
But it's so much more pronounced on the Democratic left right now, and that very polling suggests that it's a big issue for those who identify with and would support Democratic Socialists. But conventional Democrats, it's a much less salient issue.
Really? Do you have any polls to back up this statement? No, of course you don't, because you're fucking lying. Keep lying to yourself, keep lying on CNN, keep lying to the fucking boomers that watch CNN. Maybe they'll trust you, I guess, even though you're very clearly the Republican opposition here as well, alongside the other guy. But, I mean, look at Abby's face. She's like, oh, interesting take. We have seen exactly 0 polls that suggest that this is not a salient issue for all voters across all demographics. Okay? The last bastion of support for Israel in this country is not coming from American Jews. It's coming from the evangelicals. And even then, even there, the support is diminishing for Israel. Okay? Who remains in this country other than white evangelical Protestants that is at the heart of Trump's militancy, that's at the heart of Trump's base of support, that's the core voters for Donald Trump? Who amongst the American voters is actually saying like, no, this is, support for Israel is a fucking core issue for me, salient issue for me? It's bullshit. Democrats who receive AIPAC money are the most likely to do worse against potential Republican opponents or Democrats who oppose all corporate funding. Wow. Shocked.
Also, Washington Post polling.
That's 69%. I mean, we just talked about the self-identified Democratic Socialists is only a third.
But also,
it can come off as myopia.
Almost two-thirds.
But also, like this whole thing, this is the problem that we've had around anti-Semitism in Israel in this political debate is because people have made it a political football, when in all honesty, it's not. You have an entire movement, the Groper movement, Nick Fuentes, who are rooted in anti-Semitism. You have people on the far right. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene talked about Jews controlling the weather in space lasers. So let's not act as if
the difference is that I'm perfectly comfortable calling out Marjorie Taylor Greene, Nick Fuentes.
Disagree, but
if the Democrats let that Maoist poseur lead their party,
who are we talking about?
Talking about Hasan Pike.
Yeah.
Who are we talking about? Now, it's really funny because he's an op of mine as well. Okay. So for him to go, who are you talking about? Even though he very clearly knows who I am as well, because he also hates me. Everyone on this panel, from the liberals to the Republicans to the far right reactionaries, they all are actually united under the umbrella of despising what this movement represents, who I am. But I love that even Bakari Sellout turned around and was like, who are you talking about?
I was like, I didn't even know what the adjective meant. I didn't know who you were talking about.
But he does not. But he's somebody who is not real. What
we have to realize is that we're not going down this path.
55% of the country says we will not support a Democratic Socialist, and that includes, by the way, 2-to-1 margins among Democrats.
Yeah, what's the percentage of the country that says they will not support Trump? Like, you can play that game. The poll that they're looking at also showed something spectacular. A lot of people immediately, a lot of the centrists, a lot of the Republicans, immediately went and cherry-picked data points. They're being like, the DSA is so unpopular. The DSA is so unpopular. Bitch, the DSA is more popular in that poll than the Democratic Party is and the Republican Party. What are you talking about? DSA, Democratic Socialists, in that fucking poll had a higher approval rating than the Democrats did and the Republicans did. Why would you bring that up? Why would you bring that point up as though it's like a good point? It's like a good own.
That's who are black. Black Democrats.
We're trying to educate you.
You also spoke to establishment figures like James Carville and others.
Also, since that one college professor passed away, DSA has more money than the DNC. Let's fucking go. We're moneyed up. We're breaded up. Are breaded the fuck up right now. We are going to go and buy the DNC headquarters. Kim Martin put that shit out. Kim Martin put the entire house on the parlay. We are about to come in and seize the motherfucking headquarters. Okay? DNC has got minus $20 million cash on hand. DSA up $5 million. Okay? Turns out it's the broke boys of the DNC that are losing. We got our bread up. Get your money up, not your fucking funny up, dude. Yeah, bread and roses. Bread and roses means real bread. Breaded the fuck up. He pawned the DNC crib, dude. That's what I'm saying. We're about to fucking foreclose on that bitch. We're about to move like Citadel on that situational awareness guy who fucking put the house on one fucking AI company. Okay, we're about to move. We're about to make big money moves. Yeah, that's right. Why do you think I'm wearing the suits, baby? Import, export. I love when straits are open. I love commerce. I'm a big business man.
Do you get the sense that they understand, they fully grasp what is happening right now in the party and how to address it?
Well, I think, to this point, there is, and it's hard to even call it the fringes anymore, right? Because a lot of these ideas are becoming very mainstream. I mean, I think Hasan Piker was a sort of fringe character a few years ago. You can see he's sort of central in this debate within the party now. what you see on both the right and the left, I mean, if you're watching Tucker Carlson, as millions of people do every day now, I was at CPAC earlier this year speaking to many of those young MAGA guys who were very disappointed about the start of the Iran war. They have the same feelings towards Israel, right? I mean, this is a thing that's happening on both sides of the party. I don't think that, the likes of the James Carville necessarily understand what is happening. And because I think so much of it also has to do with where these guys, young guys, oftentimes are getting their information, their news and information. They're not getting it from mainstream media, they're getting it from online.
A big generational component to this, so super interesting stuff. You can catch more of Doni's reporting on the whole.
Yep. So that was one. That was one of the highlights. Also, here's a moment from the Norm Finkelstein conversation.
2025,
shout out to Emma for the edit.
The UN Security Council proceeded to give the deed of Gaza to that ape in the White House, Donald J. Trump. They gave him the deed to Gaza. I mean, it's just, when you read that, once again, I'm walking the streets. What just happened here? He got the deed to Gaza. According to their setup, there are on November.
I love that Norm doesn't even skip a beat. He's just like, no, this is a matter of fact. Like, just as it was a matter of fact that the UN gave Trump the deed of Gaza, it's a matter of fact that he is I'm not going to repeat what he said, but, I was locked in. I was trying to be as serious as possible, but it was virtually impossible for me. You also managed to make Norm laugh? Yeah, that was a highlight for me.
There are a few Jewish sports heroes like Hank Greenberg. Again, the names will come back.
Adam Friedland.
There were a few.
He loved that. He thought that was so funny. Oh, I have drama. After the interview ended, I asked him, which interview was better for you? Like, which interview did you enjoy more? And he said, yours. Yeah, he said Adam was weird. And then he said that Adam was a lot smarter than he lets on, which of course we know already, but it was funny. Did you offer him some water? Always leave out a fresh bottle or something. Bro, you're talking about Norm Finkelstein like he's a stray cat. Okay? What the fuck? Dog, yes, every guest that we have, when they come into the house, we offer them food and beverages. Okay? We actually select snacks that we know ahead of time from our investigations. Snacks that they like, snacks that they enjoy. We lay it out, okay, on a table. Jesus fucking Christ, you guys are so goddamn parasocial. It is unbearable. Oh my Lord. Cheesegate? Okay, except for Francesca Hong, which I went out and made the major mistake. I know, I fucked up. I messed up. Okay. All right. Where were we? There was another like CNN one. Oh, see how informative the conversation is when that Goldberg dickhead is not spewing lies as he sweats fear. Also, W for Hasan the Hun chat's cameo.
Sources tonight are CNN's senior correspondent, Doni O'Sullivan, who has a new documentary on the left insurgency for The Whole Story with Anderson Cooper that is airing this Sunday night. And also CNN's chief data analyst, Harry Enton, who is digging into the new poll numbers that came out today. And Doni, you've been spending 6 months traveling the country, looking at the rise of the Democratic Party's progressive movement. What have been your biggest takeaways?
Yeah, Caitlin, I mean, obviously they have momentum right now, and we saw that especially since the start of the summer with the New York primaries. There is an overwhelming confidence, I would say. And also, I mean, one thing that's really stuck out to me is this is really, I think, underlined just how sophisticated the Democrat side, or the left, however you want to look at it, that their media infrastructure has grown. I think we've seen this sort of MAGA media universe of the Steve Bannon show and things like that explode over the past few years, and just how effectively Trump used that in 2016 and in 2020 and of course in 2024. You can really see how these campaigns are, rather than relying on mainstream outlets, which of course they still speak to, and they have the debates. So big a role is the YouTubers and the streamers and the podcasts, Pod Save America, all those types. So I think it's both. There's the confidence there, but there's also this infrastructure behind it for them to get their message out.
Well, I mean, Harry, when you look at that, and it comes to what this is actually looking like in this divide, how big is it? I mean, it kind of seems to be something that Democrats here are really wrapping their heads around and trying to say, okay, let's see what we're going.
Does Donnie no longer like you? You said moments ago everyone at the table hates you. Oh my God, dude. Of course I didn't mean Donnie, okay? Oh my God, you guys are so fucking little babies. I
To do and what this means for what we should be doing right now.
I mean, look, the bottom line is this. This is the Democratic Socialist movement. I would never have believed that 2 years ago. Maybe a year ago, Zoran Mamdani, I started to believe
Toledo.
it. But this is a nationwide phenomenon. This is not something just in the coast. It's not just something in the major cities. We saw it in Colorado, right, earlier this month, or certainly last month, and we've seen it as well nationally. You can see in our CNN poll. I mean, just look at the percentage of Democratic voters nationwide who identify as Democratic Socialists. It's 41%. That is 41% of Democrats nationwide, Democratic voters nationwide. This is a nationwide poll. Now, I should point out, right, what holds for Democrats doesn't necessarily hold for overall. Just 16% of voters nationwide identify as Democratic Socialists. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens when they hit the general election, especially in swing states like Wisconsin. But the bottom line is this. Among Democrats, this is the Democratic Socialist movement. We're talking about 2 in 5 Democratic voters nationwide identifying as that. And more than that, the ones that don't, many of them are still okay with voting for a Democratic Socialist.
Well, I mean, when we see the popularity, obviously, we see the positions and what those look like. And some of them have, more extreme positions. They want to abolish ICE entirely, Donnie. And so when you look at those positions that moderate Democrats raise concerns about hurting them in the fall, when you talk...
Holy Toledo fucking loves what's happening. Dude tries so hard to control himself. No, it's because he just loves numbers, dude. That's what it is. He's the real numbers guy. It's not Patrick Bet David. It's Mr. Holy Toledo. Anytime he sees another poll that's like, anytime he sees a poll where like the DSA is surging in numbers that I've never seen before. That's the only reason why he's excited. It's not like he's like ideologically a socialist or anything. He just ideologically a numbers guy.
To some of the biggest progressive podcasters, streamers. One of them is Hasan Piker that I know have interviewed for the documentary on Sunday night. When you talk to them and the concerns that you hear from the more mainstream Democrats, what do they tell you?
They're largely unapologetic. I think that they view themselves as sort of being in this position of having the upper hand right now. I've heard people sort of compare this to the Democratic Party's Tea Party moment in terms of an insurgent group trying to remake the party in its image. But really, I think what you're seeing is, and as Harry alluded to, is that, this idea that democratic socialism, particularly the word socialism, is scary. It is still scary to a lot of Americans. There's the connection, people equated with communism, back to McCarthyism, everything else. Of course, what we're seeing is many young people view democratic socialism as Norway and many European countries. They're not thinking of Soviet Russia or something like that. But of course, the key question is going to be, how will all that actually play out in a general election, which of course is why Michigan is so critical on Tuesday.
Yeah, and obviously we're looking to that on Tuesday. When you're looking at this and whether or not these candidates can win, Harry, what do the numbers show you so far?
We're talking about Wisconsin, right? We're talking about Wisconsin. Hong, very much the clear, in the driver's seat, that primary, not on Tuesday, but just a few weeks away. Look at the general election polling. She can win. She can do this thing. At this particular point, given how unpopular Donald Trump is, I think anyone that has any semblance of any sort of campaign that, doesn't completely turn off voters can win. You see it right there among likely voters. Now, maybe if she was more towards the center, she'd be blowing Tiffany out. But the fact is, in a year in which Donald Trump's approval rating nationwide in our latest CNN poll was, 34%, just 1 in 3? And we're talking about 2 in 3 Americans who disapprove? Oh, I think that you could definitely see a lot of Democratic socialists, even in swing states, winning, given how unpopular this president is.
I feel like given that, and given what we're going to be watching in Michigan on Tuesday night, that, Doni, your documentary on Sunday night that's airing here on CNN, it really is required viewing for people to kind of get a sense and understand what this movement looks like and, you know, how long it's been building.
Okay.
It's not an
Okay,
overnight
Caitlin.
thing, and what your biggest takeaways have been.
That is so kind of you to say, Caitlin. I agree.
She said is required viewing. Harry Emden laughing, smiling from ear to ear because he knows new numbers will come out. Okay? Not because he's a loyalist, not because he's a socialist, none of that. Just he knows that is going to yield even newer numbers. Numbers he's never...
It is absolutely required viewing. And, you know, we've as you mentioned, we've been traveling the country all throughout the year doing this. I want to play a clip from the No Kings protest here in Manhattan from a few months ago where we spoke to Cynthia Nixon. You might remember her as Miranda on Sex and the City. She ran as a Democratic Socialist candidate back in 2018, and she just talks about just how much things have changed over the past few years.
I think the Democratic Party, because of its donor base, keeps trying to push its base towards the center, and nobody wants to be in the center right now.
I've always identified as a Miranda. So.
Well, thank you.
What has, do you think, changed within the Democratic Party since you ran for governor?
I think not enough has changed within...
Is Caitlin low-key a Marxist? You guys are insane, dude. You're actually insane. No, she's not. What the fuck are you talking about?
The Democratic Party. And I think the Democratic Party is a slow, lumbering giant, very slow to wake up.
No Kings! No Kings! No Cuomo! No Cuomo! No ICE! No ICE!
The election of Zoran Mamdani. It's a Democratic Socialist, which is a dirty word for a lot of people. We've got...
Yeah, remember that? Wow, Zoran, he smiles so much. He's so nice. Why can't anybody else be like him? Is so funny because they just completely wiped out how vicious Zoran could be at times. Necessary, by the way, during both his primary and also in the general for the mayoral race. Like, people just completely forgot how Zoran was and how he got and what kind of attacks he received as well. But like, it is really funny where they're like, well, look at Zoran. He's like, he's playing ball with the rest of the Democrats. Why can't you guys be like Zoran? It's like, trust me, I don't even think Abdul has done half of what Zoran did during the fucking primaries in his primary. Okay. People totally forgot how aggressive he was, which was totally valid. It was totally valid.
More and more people like him running across the country.
New York City!
And you can see more of Doni's new documentary, The Left Insurgency, for the whole story with Anderson Cooper this Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Anyway, where was I? Okay, so let's get to another incredible sequence of interviews. Okay, prophecy came true in less than 8 months. Oh, it was never about and always about turning Iran into a failed state that will be led by a U.S.-Israel puppet. Once again, the region is completely in service of our interests. We can move towards China. U.S. intervention beyond what we've done so far seems like an inevitability. Yeah, that's what it is. That's what's going on. I'm really surprised you didn't ask Norm about the conversation with Sex Pestany. It's irrelevant. Utterly immaterial. Meaning, by the way, speaking of which, breaking, the United States and Israel is planning to bombard energy-related targets in Iran, sources tell CBS News. Here is why I don't think this is real. You want to know why I don't think this is real? You want to know why I think this is fake? I mean, hopefully I'm not wrong, okay? So there were 3 plans that I think were presented to Donald Trump. Either the first plan, situation monitoring is happening right now, by the way, for those of you who are listening to the situation monitors, it's time. Wee woo, situation monitor o'clock. Okay, let me explain something to you. There is speculation that there were 3 different plans that were presented to Donald Trump. One was continue bombing targets in a tit-for-tat, escalation ladder tactic that we have utilized thus far, which has, yielded no military results. Guys, I can hear what you guys are saying, and also I can hear everything you guys are saying. Yeah, and they can hear you as well. Probably. Okay. Sorry. Number one. Tit-for-tat bombing campaign. Iran maintains primacy over the Strait of Hormuz, then the United States of America. goes back and strikes, southern targets, all this stuff. What we've done for the last 160 days in this back and forth that has been an abject failure as far as achieving any of the military goals that the United States of America wants to achieve. Okay? The second option is going through the process of trying to establish a military foothold in the coastal area of Iran and potentially the island chains that are like approximately 20 to 30 kilometers off of the coastline of Iran. Qeshm Island, Karg Island. There are numerous different islands that the United States of America believes it could potentially hold with boots on the ground military warfare, okay? With a full-blown invasion. Now, that's less likely because this would require a tremendous amount of American casualties. And Trump, so far, is not invested in the American casualties. He doesn't want to do this big military conquest. But who knows? As the situation worsens for him, he could get more erratic because he's an insane person. Okay? The third option is even funnier. And that's the one that they're presenting right now on CBS News as the likely scenario. U.S. and Israel are preparing to bombard energy-related targets in Iran, sources say. Now, there's a reason why this is unlikely, but who knows? Maybe they'll do it. Two reasons. Number one, if they bomb energy-related targets in Iran, Iran will retaliate by bombing energy targets in the Gulf and will destroy the global energy supply for a decade and onward, okay? For a decade to come. Because as it stands currently, this is basically the energy nuclear option, right? Iran has not deployed this. Iran has not attacked all of the energy infrastructure in the Gulf because that would destroy the global markets permanently, okay? It would destroy it in an irreparable manner that even Trump could not manipulate his way around, okay? This would have this would create tremendous volatility in the stock markets. This is not something that Donald Trump wants to do. That's the number one reason why they haven't done this. The number two reason why they haven't done this so far is even funnier. It's because we don't have the missiles. We literally do not have enough standoff munitions, and we haven't been able to establish air superiority, given that even with the manpads that Iran has, they've been able to establish sufficient anti-air defenses. That is part of the reason why we've been deploying our standoff munitions rather than deploying these unguided gravity bombs and JDAMs over Iranian airspace, which requires F-35s and other fighter jets to fly over the Iranian airspace. They've rejected these options over and over again, even though these are the only options that remain on the table, right? Tit for tat with the standoff munitions, number one, which is what we've been doing, which has been an abject failure. This is why they're looking for number two and number three now. Number two being a boots on the ground invasion of the coastal area of Iran and potentially the invasion of the islands. But even if you invade, there is going to be tremendous amounts of casualties on the American side. This is far too costly for the Americans to lean into. At least for the time being, Trump has shown no appetite to do this, right? And number three being the destruction of the entire energy infrastructure in Iran, the refineries and the like. Now, the third option is also, once again, unlikely. And the reason why it's unlikely is because we do not have enough standoff munitions to destroy the entirety of the Iranian power plants, to destroy the entirety of Iran's critical energy infrastructure. This is before we even factor in the reality that Iran will retaliate by blowing up the entire Gulf's critical energy infrastructure. So we don't even have the missiles. We don't even have the offensive capabilities to continue deploying sufficient munitions from afar to destroy the entirety of Iran's critical energy infrastructure. Think about that. So what are we to do? What can we do here? Are we just going to go beast mode? Have we developed a secret fighter jet that no one knew about that is capable of flying over the Iranian airspace without Iranian anti-air defenses, targeting them and taking them out? Is there a way to do it? Are they going to try to overwhelm the Iranian airspace with an incredible amount of force by just sending in as many fighter jets as possible and sacrificing some of these $40 million, $50 million, $100 million assets, including but not limited to the American pilots or even the Israeli pilots, which is even less likely because Israel obviously is notoriously careful about not putting any of their pilots in the line of fire, because that's seemingly the only other alternative. Both the boots on the ground military invasion option and the aerial assault option requires America to be comfortable with a significant number of casualties, a significant number of pilots dying in the process. Because again, I'm going to repeat this one more time. According to the CSIS studies, according to the CSIS papers, America does not have sufficient munitions, sufficient standoff munitions to strike all of the Iranian plants from afar. That is where we're at. And this is a ZBS leak. So I suspect it's still Trump trying to engage in his own version of madman theory, madman diplomacy. CBS says the United States and Israel are planning what would be one of the harshest bombing campaigns to date against energy infrastructure targets in Iran, multiple sources told CBS News, with strikes possible throughout the weekend. There was some discussion about trying to conclude by time financial markets open Monday because of the concern about how the bombings will affect the U.S. and global economy, but an endpoint wasn't locked in. I told you guys this early this week. This has been the exact same strategy over and over again. The definition of insanity is trying to do the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. We are insane. We are insane. Every time the markets close, Donald Trump comes in and screams bloody murder. We are going to nuke Iran, he says. By the time markets are opening on Sunday night, he says Iran is begging for a ceasefire. Meanwhile, there's been reports coming from Reuters, which China has denied, of course, but who knows, that Iran is expected to receive up to 400 Chinese manpads, with the first deliveries arriving within weeks, multiple sources told the Reuters. The deal includes Chinese-made QW-12 and FN-16 surface-to-air missiles supplied through a Hong Kong-based intermediary. The contract covers the purchase of between 300 and 400 manpads, man-portable air defense systems, including Chinese-made QW-12 and FN-16 missiles, the sources said. China's foreign ministry said the relevant reports are completely groundless. China has consistently played a role in promoting peace and ending the conflict. Beijing-based Zhongqing Baoshang Group, the parent company of Zhongqing Baoshang International Investment, did not immediately respond to an email request for comment on Tuesday. China pulling a Lend-Lease America-style arrangement here, as America once did for the USSR, is not shocking, I guess. I don't know. Very interesting predicament. China cuts deal with the Houthis, adjusts for long U.S. war with Iran. China is cutting its own deals and gaining wartime leverage as the Trump administration scrambles to contain the war and reopen Hormuz. China also has another weapon here, okay? Not only does China have a tremendous amount of resources that they could send to Iran, okay, in order for Iran to defend itself sufficiently in this war of aggression that started through perfidy, okay? Not only can they do that, but China also has numerous tools in the tool belt. China has numerous cards that they have not played. China has spent the last 160 days stabilizing the energy markets by destroying their own demand or destroying their own imports by more than half. They've cut their imports by more than half, leaning into their strategic petroleum reserves, which no one in the world knows how big they are, for the record. That is leverage for China. China could turn around and tweak the dial again. China could then increase demand one more time. China could turn around and start increasing their imports of oil. All of a sudden, the Asian market would collapse. China also obviously has strategic export controls that it could deploy. If you recall last year in the Day of Liberty, the tariffs regime that Donald Trump tried to implement against China and against China's trade partners to try to decouple the rest of the world from China. In one of the instances where the American side went back on their previous negotiations, China turned around and said, okay, we're implementing strategic export controls for rare earth minerals and specifically magnets. These are necessary components and necessary resources for national defense. Remember how we earlier talked about how America is running out of munitions? Not only is our procurement strategy unbelievably slow and unbelievably costly due to defense bloat, without Chinese magnets, without Chinese rare earth minerals, which China has a damn near monopoly on, we cannot make a single missile. That is the trade nuclear option. So if China deployed that, it would be over. So what are we talking about? This is before we even get into China. This is before we acknowledge that China has a lot more cards that they could deploy. Here is Jennifer Jacobs of ZBS News. During his Tuesday Oval Office meeting with Netanyahu, Israeli officials were struck by Mr. Trump's serious and very clinical approach to the Iran war. Netanyahu counseled the president on 3 options for the war: an enforceable deal focused on removal of the nuclear material, a blockade with added economic pressure, military strikes focused on attacking land routes used for transporting supplies. Now, what's really interesting about this is none of this is relevant. As we covered last week, Iran has decided, or as we covered a couple days ago, as a matter of fact, when I had a conversation with Trita Parsi of the Quincy Institute, Iran has now decided to take a new posture where they want to now maintain control over the pacing of the current battle. Iran struck first at U.S. military installations in Jordan without being struck by the American side first. This is what's causing panic in Washington, D.C., because this is new. For the longest time, even throughout the Operation Epic Fury, Iran has always taken a defensive posture, only striking back at the Gulf or striking back against American targets whenever America hit Iran first. The only time Iran established any kind of deterrence, any kind of military deterrence is to reassert its primacy over the Strait of Hormuz, oftentimes against commercial vessels that are trying to transit the Strait of Hormuz at direct odds with the Memorandum of Understanding through the Omani coastline. This is the only time Iran strikes first, right? Never towards American military installations, never towards the Gulf. They only strike towards the Gulf and at American military installations after America responds. So Iran controls the pacing of the battle now. Or at the very least, Iran is saying that they want to control the pacing of the battle now. That's very different than the posture that Iran has represented thus far. So Donald Trump taking a serious approach to the Iran war by implementing a blockade or this or that is utterly immaterial. It's utterly irrelevant. What is relevant here is how we arrive at the negotiations table, how we get Iran to believe that we will hold our word once again. There is tremendous leverage favoring the Iranian side here. There is no leverage whatsoever favoring the American side. And the Israeli side doesn't really need leverage because they're fucking insane. The Israeli side just wants death and destruction, a failed state in Iran. The Israeli side would nuke Iran if there were no setbacks from deploying the nuclear weapons. If this did not destroy the pre-existing nuclear deterrence. And as days go by, Iran's leverage grows. As days go by, market volatility increases. As days go by, the strategic petroleum reserves deplete. And as market volatility increases, Iran gains even more leverage. So this information strikes me as odd. U.S. and Israel preparing to bombard energy-related markets in Iran, sources say. Or rather, not that it strikes me as odd, it's just an unbelievable disaster if they implement this scenario, even if they don't have the necessary resources to implement this scenario without tremendous cost. Either we just destroy what remains of our standoff munitions and never really achieve our military goals here because, as I've repeatedly explained to you over and over again, we simply do not have enough missiles. We simply do not have enough standoff munitions to strike all of Iran's critical energy infrastructure. And then on top of that, Iran can turn around and blow up the entire Gulf's energy refineries, which would destroy the global markets permanently in a way that Donald Trump can no longer manipulate his way out of. Or we try to deploy our standoff munitions and then we send as many fighter jets over the Iranian airspace as possible and try to overwhelm their anti-air defense systems. But this time, instead of overwhelming their anti-air defense systems with ballistic munitions, we will be overwhelming their anti-air defense systems with Air Force pilots. We will be sacrificing American fighter pilots and potentially upwards of $1 billion worth of very complex machinery, very expensive machinery with proprietary technology over the Iranian airspace. We'll be throwing bodies into the pile, Russian meat grinder style. It makes no sense. Perhaps a better analogy is not Russian meat grinder style, but Imperial Japanese kamikaze style. So I don't see any realistic military scenario. And I know if I can't see one, the American generals also see that same reality. No American general, regardless of how loyal they are to Donald Trump, is going to put their name on a mission like this, especially considering that there is no guarantee of success at the end of this, and only a guarantee of failure, okay? It doesn't make any sense. But we are fucking insane. So who knows? As I've said before, even deploying nuclear arms does not guarantee Iran standing down. It doesn't guarantee Iran refusing to strike back or destroying Iran's capabilities to strike back. So if that's the case, even the highest point of the escalation ladder would end up with a military failure. And yes, of course, this is the classic retort. After this war is over, I don't think the Straits are going to be that powerful of a leverage because people will move the energy pipelines out of the Straits to the Red Sea, from there to Israel and the Mediterranean. We can unblock this choke point, and we will. Failing to consider, and this is the classic line that you hear from the analysts, the classic line that you hear from the Foundation for Defending Democracy, from Israel. This is something Israel has wanted to do for a very long time, our over-reliance on the Strait of Hormuz. This choke point that is dangerous, which it wasn't really dangerous until Trump decided to implement Operation Epic Fury. But here's the issue. All this can be resolved if we simply design an alternative way to transport oil that's also within the range of Iranian standoff weaponry. Chris Cappy was also fantasizing about something similar. This is classic, okay? This is classic couch guy, Monday morning quarterbacking. People have floated this idea over and over again. Everybody loves floating this idea. But they fail to recognize, one, the infrastructure necessary to develop this would take far too much time, and no one would be able to develop it because the world would collapse before we got there if the Strait of Hormuz is blocked for years while they're trying to develop these pipelines. And two, even if these pipelines were to be developed in a short enough time, right? Let's say they magically were able to cut the development process timeline in half, and instead of 8 years, they did it in 4 years. These pipelines are still within range of Iranian standoff munitions. So what do? It's not like pipelines are an effective counter to Iranian ballistic munitions. Nord Stream 2 showed that if there's a will, there's a way to blow up fucking pipelines. Okay? And them bitches were underwater, deep underwater. Not only are pipelines not capable of pushing the same volume as oil tankers are, there's a reason why we There's a reason why we use oil tankers rather than fucking pipelines for a lot of this stuff. Okay? You can't push the same volume. And worst of all, the pipelines are just sitting there. They don't move, which means they're far more susceptible to sabotage. They're far more susceptible to a barrage of missiles from Iranian. So even then, you don't solve the problem. So here was what my response was to Chris Cappy, who says something like this. Says something along these lines. He also had this exact same take. He said, the war in Iran is a strategic disaster. At least he recognizes that. Tactical successes aside, Chris Copey, I'd like to see the Islamic Republic replaced, but it's not happening without boots on the ground, which would be a terrible move. At least he recognizes that. Whether it was right to launch the war or not aside, again, can't even fucking admit that it was a spectacular failure. Everything aside, the current situation is a huge disaster. Recognizes that it's a disaster, so that's good at least. The military is looking at moving bases west to Israel. Iran will control Hormuz and rebuild its missiles. They have every reason to accelerate nuclear weapons development. True. Bombing 200 more targets will change none of this. Also true. We have more than two options. It's not just invade or give up, but the other options suck too. We're likely going to concede Iran control over the Hormuz and build pipelines around through Iraq and Syria to circumvent it and reduce Iran's leverage. But Iran's proxies, the PMF in Iraq, can just attack those oil pipelines. My guess, we do a big bombing or a limited SF raid on an island and then leave the region, calling it a victory while we build the pipelines. I said pipelines are even more vulnerable to drone strikes. The only way out of this is through diplomacy. We lost. It's not the worst reality. We have to restrain ourselves. No more endless belligerence at the direction of Israel. We being the IRGC that supported all your favorite Islamic terror groups, the one that kills tens of thousands for protesting, that's not the same we. You're on your own. Who's we? Brother, you're not on the fucking team, Lamau. I'm an American taxpayer, and I pay a lot more taxes than you do, dumb fuck on Twitter with a Ukrainian flag and an American flag on your descriptor. Here's the other, I guess, alternative issue that the Americans are throwing in. Officials now believe the IRGC is firmly in control of Iran's decision-making. Yes, leaving political figures in the U.S. Leaving political figures the U.S. has been talking with as figureheads. Complicating matters are internal dynamics of the IRGC itself, where a handful of senior commanders are all jockeying for control. That is a leading reason why U.S. officials and regional partners fear the conflict is likely to drag on. The problem for the American side is that the IRGC is in control, and the IRGC, unlike the previous leadership that they fucking assassinated, understand that strategic restraint has only delivered negative consequences. Strategic restraint has only hurt Iran because Americans and the Israelis are stupid. The Americans and the Israelis are dumb enough to believe that strategic restraint was actually because Iran simply did not have the capability of retaliation. The IRGC proved that it has the capability of retaliation. Now, the disagreements that exist within the IRGC, we don't obviously know what those disagreements are, but the speculation from people far smarter than the American side is the disagreements are ultimately marginal. It's the hardliners are in control. The ones who want to fight back are very clearly in control. It's just how much they want to fight back. There's one school of thought that is more pragmatic. They're still hardliners. They still want to fight back. They understand the necessity to fight back, but they're still saying we need to use the leverage that we've developed through military strength to inevitably teach America a lesson and to, get them out of the region. The other group is saying we have to fight until Americans no longer exist in the region. And same with the Israelis, until they are no longer a real threat. The problem for the hardliners that want to fight until it's an inevitability that everybody understands that America and Israel can no longer exist in the region is that they don't have the munitions to be able to keep up that battle. Okay.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining this phone call. And I'm really excited to be here in Michigan because this is a very important race. As you know, we had a great victory in New Jersey just in June, but I can't do this alone. In Congress, I need members that
I can't hear what happened. We lost them.
that our mission does like Donovan because they're afraid. They're afraid that he could win. But I need people that are going to be fighting for the issues that I care about, and he needs people as well. So I want to make sure that he's able to get the money out of the politics. I want to make sure that he gets Medicare for all passed, and I want to make sure that he gets universal health care and childcare, and he's going to fight for the same issues that I care about as well. And they could try to pour in money and make sure that they run ads to scare people away. And what they don't have are people like you. And it's so important, these phone calls that you're going to make, because you're having, contact with actual human beings and conversations, and you're going to tell them about the issues that they're being distracted about. So thank you very much for joining. This is critical now. We got 4 days left for the election. So the calls that you make today can really make a difference. And again, this is a team effort. And
all right. Thank you so much, Dr. Hamawi. Really appreciate those words and your being here. And next up, I want to pass it to our friend who is live right now, Hasan Piker.
Hello. Hopefully you guys can hear me well. It says it's a low network bandwidth. I'm coming to you live from Detroit, Michigan. Ladies and gentlemen, boys, girls, and Ebbies. We're live with approximately 30,000 people watching right now. And I just want to say it's a great honor to join the battle once again and smile and dial. We've seen a tremendous amount of impact out here. Your voices matter, okay? This race, much like many of the other races that we've been a part of, is a race where a leftist, DSA-aligned or DSA-endorsed candidate, in Donovan's case, DSA-endorsed candidate, is going up against another corporate Democrat, another do-nothing Democrat. And lucky for us, we've seen a tremendous sequence of victories thus far. And I'm hoping that we're going to put another notch on our belt. As Adam Hamawi also correctly pointed to, we need as many numbers as we can. Numbers amongst those who place your interests, to place the interests of the working class over the interests of corporations. Shri Tanadar is unbelievably wealthy and has consistently voted alongside his class interests, which happens to be antagonistic to your interests. So if you want a real fighter and you're worried about the prospects of Donovan, you got to smile and dial. You got to make an impact, because one of the things that we've seen in all of these races is the barrage of attack ads. It is our opportunity in these sorts of phone banks to turn those attack ads into name recognition. I've talked to voters all around the country, and the one thing that they consistently tell me is when they see all of these negative ads, it doesn't end up working in the favor of the person or the campaign that's running them. It actually annoys people to constantly hear about how bad a particular candidate is. But that's name recognition. So it's pertinent and it's important for us to take that name recognition and to show the truth, to say the truth to the voters of Detroit, to the voters of Wayne County, and to tell them that because this is a very poor district at the end of the day. This is one of those districts that's been left behind by these do-nothing Democrats, by these corporate Democrats. This is a district that requires a real fighter like Donovan McKinney. And while the parties, the establishment Democrats' forces, have decided to gather around Shri Tanadar, as AIPAC has allegedly reimbursed Shri's campaign when Shri's campaign has decided to make strange decisions around cryptocurrency to reimburse those losses. Those losses come at a cost, and the cost is to you. If you feel frustrated when you hear from the likes of do-nothing Democrats consistently voting to place a foreign country like Israel's interest over your interest, if you're frustrated with the reality that Democrats end up spending our productive output and our tax dollars to go blow up schools overseas rather than fix the schools in your neighborhoods, then you need a real fighter like Donovan McKinney. So that's why I'm here. We've seen tremendous impact in these phone banks in the past. I briefly talked about it before I got on here on my stream about the Daria Liza Avila Chevalier campaign. She was running up against the head of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, an establishment Democrat by the name of Adriana Espaillat. A lot of people left that race out. A lot of people were not focusing on that race. But we knew that we could make an impact, and we did. 600 people called in to the district, and overnight, we were able to make the distance. Daria Liza Avila Chevalier won by approximately 2,000 plus votes. We were able to get 2,000 confirmed voters for DAC on those phone bank operations. So remember, if you're feeling discouraged, if you feel like there's no positive outcome here, this is your opportunity to make that difference. This will make the victory ever sweeter. So thank you. Thank you for having me on. I'm very excited to participate in this. And I don't know who the next guest is. So that'll be all.
Can you push chat to join the phone bank? Because we're at 68 people in here right now, and I bet we can get that up to 600 real quick.
No, absolutely. And I don't know why the mods haven't been spamming the link. I asked my team to push for the link as well. 68
It's tinyurl.com. tinyurl.com/Hasan calls.
Yeah.
tinyurl.com/Hasan calls.
Yeah, don't know why we didn't have that already being spammed this entire time. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing for for our end. It's embarrassing that our chatters have not joined the phone bank operation. Only 68. That's disastrous, chat. I need to get those numbers up. We need to get those numbers up.
We need you, chatters.
Tiny
and
URL.
while we wait for folks,
no, not URLs. tinyurl.com. tinyurl.com/Hasan calls. You're slacking.
And while we let folks join, it's starting to grow. Let's hear from our guy, State Representative Donovan McKinney.
Hey, everybody. Just appreciate you all for taking the time out and being here. Hasan, man, thank you so much for your support, for your voice, for your leadership. Right now, we are in the midst, in the thick of this fight. 4 days left. All we have is 4 days to make some noise, to make as many phone calls as possible, knock on as many doors as possible, raise as much money as possible to go against the grain of what's happening. We are fed up and tired. Each and every one of us are fed up and tired of the status quo politician that just read off the talking points, give us the platitudes and things we want to hear. But in reality, behind closed doors, sell us out every time. And I was on Hasan streaming before, and I talked about people in these positions of power and influence that lack courage. And courage to me doesn't necessarily mean the absence of being afraid. Courage to me means even when you're afraid, you still step up and do the right thing on behalf of the people you represent. And damn it, that's what the hell we're going to do every single day as we become the next congressman-elect in Michigan's mighty 13th district. I got to give a shout out to the congressman-elect, Adam, out of New Jersey. He's on the ground with us right now in Michigan as we go out here and fight in Michigan's mighty 13th district. I got to give a shout out. When our message is out there, New Jersey, we have to get around with us right now in Michigan as we go out here. So this is chatters. We need y'all to do these phones, to knock as many doors as possible if you're in our state, but make these phone calls. Let them know that the way we change our society is through the vote, and we have to get the vote out. And we have to tell people, utilize your voice by utilizing your vote, because if you don't use it, you lose it. They're spending countless dollars against us right now, tens of millions of dollars. I just got confirmation that between Abdullah El-Sayed is running for the U.S. Senate here in Michigan and myself, just our 2 races alone is the most expensive primary in the history of our country. And so we want to show the rest of the world that this movement isn't just a coastal movement from New York, New Jersey to California, but this can happen in the middle of America. This can happen right here in the state of Michigan. We need everybody to stand up to show the rest of the country that our movement means business and that it's time that we elect people that's going to work on our behalf and put working people first instead of sending resources and our taxpayer money abroad for war. And I got to give a shout out to Tupac, man. I say his quote all the time. They got money for war, but they don't have any money to feed the poor. What in the hell are we doing? The world we live in it's like the Twilight Zone right now. We're drinking water out of a fire hose, and we need everybody on this call to make sure that everybody knows that we're going to care for them and we're going to put working people first. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you all. Shout out to the chatters. Shout out, man. Come out. Let's make these phone calls. Let's get the word out, and let's win. 4 days to go, y'all. Let's do it.
All right, let's go. Thank you so much, Donovan. Really awesome. We are here in the final stretch. It's time to smile and dial. We have 122 people in the room right now, so we have doubled already. I bet we can grow.
We got to get those numbers
more.
up. We got to get those
numbers up.
I need to see 200. I need to see 200, or the tank top stream is never happening, chat. Okay, sorry. Promises made, promises not kept if you don't.
It's true. This is serious stuff. The stakes just got dramatically higher. But if you are currently in the Zoom and you are good to go, there are breakout rooms that I'm about to open. And so there are 5 breakout rooms. You can join any of the breakout rooms 1 through 5 to get trained. And just join one that has less. If you run into tech issues, so your scale to win doesn't work, you're having issues on Zoom, you just get through the training and you're having issues and you need technical support, there is a special tech support room. So please, I'm going to open those rooms now, and if you are ready to go, hop into one of those rooms 1 through 5 and go ahead and get trained. If you are having trouble getting in a breakout room, just let us know in the chat and we will happily assign you to it, so you get a little prompt on your screen. And amazing trainers will be in there to help you get all trained up and get out there and dialing. I see multiple derbies in the chat already, so the stream is definitely working.
Anxiety, it's
so
like a game.
Go ahead, join those breakout rooms,
Even
get trained, let's start making some dials.
Like
send that link to all your friends,
tinyurl.com
tinyurl.com/Hasan calls, and let's make some calls. Thanks for being here.
If you have social anxiety and you're worried, remember, people are unbelievably polite. Wait, is there... Can I give some more feedback? Because like I know there's some common things that people are afraid of.
The recording has stopped.
Okay, so one of the most common things, one of the most common refrains here is social anxiety. Obviously, a lot of Twitch watchers, a lot of Twitch streamers don't realize maybe they haven't done this before. Some of you have already participated in phone banks before, but it's basically like a quick time event. It gamifies the process of making these phone calls, and it makes it unbelievably easy. Very, very turnkey solution. Okay. So you have to remember that, because many of you will be like, oh, well, I'm a little worried. I have social anxiety. I don't want to talk to people on the phone. A lot of Zoomers hate talking on the phone. Okay. I'm not a Zoomer. I'm a millennial. And even I hate talking on the phone as well. This actually forces you to have these conversations on the phone with others in a very productive way. And once you get the hang of it after the first couple of phone calls, you will not believe how easy this process is. Most of the people are not even going to pick up the phone. You're going to leave a voicemail, okay? But there are going to be those who actually do pick up the phone. And the reality is those people are always incredibly polite and incredibly invested in what you have to say. When they hear someone like yourselves, when they hear younger people, what do I always say? A lot of the boomers that you call, when they have to hear from you, when they have to hear from a younger person, they get very excited. Okay, old people love talking on the phone, and they especially love talking on the phone to the youth, especially the youth that love doing their favorite hobby, which is voting, civic participation, and civic engagement. So it's a much easier process and a much better process than you think it will be. Okay? That's all I got to say.
Awesome. All right, folks, those breakout rooms are open. If you haven't yet joined the phone bank, join the phone bank. We're going to start making some calls, talking to some voters. It's a super close race, going to be single digits. Your call could be the difference. And, a lot of elections in this state get decided by a couple hundred votes. I think Congresswoman Tlaib won her election by like 600, 900 votes the first time. So you could be the difference in this race. So hop on the Zoom. If you're currently on the Zoom, join a breakout room, any of them 1 through 5 to get trained. If you're having trouble, just let us know in the chat and we can assign you a breakout room. I see folks hopping in and you'll get trained in there. If you have tech issues, in a special tech support room.
Also, Vincent, can people, where can people join from? Is there is it geolocated? Are there restrictions? Can people join? Can American citizens join from wherever they may reside, for example?
Great question. There are no geographic restrictions whatsoever. You can join from anywhere you would like. This is one of the most accessible forms of volunteering because you can do it anywhere. You can do it from Antarctica if you want to. If you have a device that can make phone calls, you're good to go. The software makes it super easy. So wherever you are, you can make some calls for Donovan McKinney tonight. And it's a huge effort, and we appreciate everybody who's doing it. But no geographic restrictions. You don't have to be here in Michigan. You can call from anywhere.
Yeah, the thing is, like, it's also the most bang for your buck as far as like the greatest ROI. I'm a numbers guy. Obviously, I love ROI. Okay, I love return on investment. I love commerce. I love doing international shipping, and I love numbers. And this is one of the greatest ways that you can get the most bang for your buck. It's even easier to do than door knocking, which is also obviously very reliable, very important, and very good. So I would say that this is one of the more important things that you guys can do specifically.
ROI. I'm a numbers guy. Obviously,
Okay. There's a lot of people who are unmuting themselves. Okay. All right. Back to you,
Make
Vincent.
some calls, folks. Hop in those breakout rooms and spending against Donovan from crypto, APAC. They can't beat your conversations with voters. That's the other thing, folks. There are millions of dollars being spent against Donovan McKinney, and none of it is as powerful as your conversation with a voter, debunking the lies and telling them the good word of Donovan McKinney and his incredible platform. So we need you out here countering APAC and crypto, and you have the power to do that tonight. So hop in the phone bank. Make some calls. I see folks are trickling into the breakout rooms.
What are we
at?
having
Any issues? We are at, let's see, how many people total? There are 178 people in this Zoom. I think we can do better than that.
We haven't gotten to 200. That's crazy. Okay, tank top stream cancel, chat. You did it.
Total, there are 100 and really horrifying to hear my own voice.
Crazy. Okay.
I don't know how you do it.
Chat, you did it.
Okay, folks, numbers are ticking up. I see if you're currently in this Zoom and you're having issues getting into a breakout room, just let us know in the chat and we will assign you to a breakout room and something should pop up on your screen prompting you to join. Otherwise, you should be able to just select a room. Any room 1 to 5 will do. You'll get trained on how to make calls and we'll get you all set and ready to go. And for folks joining now, welcome.
American. You can join if you're not
Go ahead and
American.
join any breakout room. You can call from anywhere in the world, and we're thrilled to have you here. Join any room 1 through 5. If you're having issues getting into a breakout room, just let us know, and we'll assign you to a room. Okay, we're getting there. Welcome, folks. Welcome, new folks. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome, welcome. If you are just joining now, go ahead and join any breakout room. We're thrilled to have you. Any room 1 through 5 will do, and that is where you will get trained. Super happy to have you here. If you are unable to get into a breakout room, if you're not seeing it for some reason, let us know in the chat, and we will get you in a room. The wonderful, incredible, charming, illustrious Casey is working hard on doing just that right now. We appreciate Casey so much. So please go ahead and join a room. If you're having technical issues of some form, feel free to join the tech support room where the incredible and illustrious Hannah will help you get your technical issues resolved. But welcome, welcome. If you are just joining now, go ahead and join any breakout room. Any room 1 through 5 will do. If you are having trouble joining a breakout room, please feel free to let us know in the chat, and we will get you assigned to a breakout room. Welcome, welcome. Glad to see the numbers increasing, chugging along here. We are about to hit 200 folks in this Zoom, folks. Just let us know in the chat if you're having trouble joining a breakout room. We will get you in one. But really appreciate your being here right now. Thank you.
Keep joining.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. If you are not currently in a breakout room, please feel free to join any breakout room, 1 through 5. You'll get trained in that room on how to make calls tonight. Super grateful for your being here. If you are having issues joining a breakout room, just let us know in the chat and we will get you assigned to a breakout room. Any room 1 through 5 will do. Really appreciate you being here. I see new folks popping in. We are over the 200 mark, folks. Thrilled to see that. Welcome new folks who are joining now. If you just join any breakout room 1 through 5. We'll get you trained on how to make calls tonight. If you are having trouble joining a breakout room, feel free to let us know in the chat and we will get you assigned to a breakout room.
So afraid, but I'm gonna try.
Glad
Good.
to have you with us. Thank you.
Also, another thing is,
okay,
at
welcome
least in our
folks.
experience,
Welcome new folks joining now.
I also
if you're joining
love
right now,
hearing
just go ahead and
from
join
the
any breakout
conversations
room.
that you
Room
guys have
1
had.
through 5 will do.
And it
we'll get
also
you trained on how to
helps
make calls to
us
voters out here
identify
in
where the
Michigan.
voters are.
You can do it from anywhere in the world. So really,
okay, it helps us identify where the voters are as well. So one of the most fun experiences after doing these sorts of phone banking operations is the next day, where people come in and they're like, "This is a conversation that I had, a personal anecdote, like a personal experience that you had with a voter." A conversion is really fun, but then also there will be people who are like haters as well. So